In Thailand, the desperate race to find survivors from a catastrophic earthquake. Search dogs and drones being used to spot any sign of life. As international aid is pouring into the region, U.S. soldiers are now on the ground in Bangkok.
Honestly, we're just trying to get a handle on what's going on right now.
They're assisting in recovery efforts, where today a massive pile of debris remains after a 33-story high-rise that had been under construction buckled and collapsed, sending workers running for their lives and trapping dozens of others.
Like all Canadian leaders, forced to address yet another attack by President Trump against our economy. Here he goes again, attacking his closest neighbor and America's best friend, with new tariffs that will drive up the cost of living for American consumers and drive down American wages while damaging a historic friendship, the best trading relationship in the world.
Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, "I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine."
Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle. Leah is literally 2 feet away. She's going to be joining us in a second. It's Sunday, which means we're going to go all around the world with this week's top world news stories, including but not limited to Trump is mad at Putin. He's mad and he's ticked off. We don't even use that word. The other one that he used, we don't use either because we don't curse in our house. And my mom always said when we were kids, we weren't allowed to use these type of words, but he's mad. Trump is mad at Putin. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk to you about it. The Canadians are also mad, but they're mad at Trump. Of course, they're mad at Trump because there were a lot of tariffs that were going to go into play April 2nd. Much to my disappointment, there's less now that are going into play than before, but the ones that are going to go into play are the Canadian ones, and the Canadians are fit to be tied, don't you know? So they're really mad. Pierre Poilievre, obviously, if you were watching the intro, you saw that he's pretty mad, pretty upset. It's going to hurt the Canadian economy, and everybody's coming back, and they're saying, well, it's going to hurt America worse. So there's that. And then in serious news, and this is very, very important, in Thailand, there has been a gigantic earthquake in Myanmar. 1,700 people assumed dead. That's so big for an earthquake. I can't even wrap my brain around an earthquake causing that kind of, numbers and death. So that yesterday?
That was a couple of days ago.
2 days ago. So we're going to show you guys some footage of that. Not that you really want to see it, but
it's pretty crazy.
It's really awful. So prayers for people in Thailand, and not to over politicize everything, but I do think it is important and bears noting that if it doesn't happen in a Western country, a lot of times people don't care. So if that kind of earthquake had happened in the United States, it would be like, oh my gosh, it would be, news forever. I mean, look at Hurricane Helene, which was very, very devastating, but because it happened in the United States. But these kind of natural or unnatural disasters happen all over the world all of the time. And they have way less infrastructure, or that's not the right word that I want.
The ability
to rebuild even than we do, So my heart breaks for these people that like the whole world just kind of leaves behind. They'll talk about it for a second, but then they don't really do anything to help.
It honestly, it's highlighted here in America that we do have almost like a third world country in North Carolina. I didn't understand how North Carolina had such a devastatingly impoverished community.
Well, it's like the Appalachians,
Yeah, and when you see the videos of the people who've had their homes wiped away, a lot of them were incredibly, incredibly poor, but they had homes.
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine, right? But a lot of these homes were passed down
generational,
and their family, and they made it work, right? They made it work. and then they don't have them, and and they're forgotten because the Western world forgets poor people. This is true. It's true. It's true.
I think it's purposeful.
Yeah, I saw a post on X, Twitter, or whatever, where there was a 70-year-old lady, and she was all like disabled and could barely move, and she was a waitress. And some lady saw it and was like, you know, what are you doing? She's like, I only have this much to live off of, and I have to do this, and like $1,000, whatever. And so this woman got a GoFundMe together for her, and she raised $250,000.
Oh my gosh!
So that woman is gonna be is fit to be tired. She's never, you know, she's gonna be great. But the comments under there were so atrocious. I don't know if it's just Twitter. I don't think Facebook would be like that. I don't think Instagram would be like that. There's just a bottom feeder. I think it's this tech people and finance people must all be on Twitter, because Neil Oliver made a post and said, for every day that you have to go by without worrying how your bills are going to be paid, it moves you that much farther away from people who do, and the compassion.
That's powerful.
And, you know, there are a lot of people who said, you know, there's some people who live frugally and you know, change their oil and do those things. They still understand. You know, when COVID hit for us, we were in a really good place. And I understand that mindset where you're just like, everything's good. Everything's good. You're good. We're good. We're good. Everything's good. And then suddenly, like overnight, everything's not good. Mm-hmm. Everything's not okay. Everything's not okay. And some of you guys helped us out during that period, because our pet sitting business, which if you think about a business and you think about how much you bring in a month to live off of, and then you think of month after month after month compounded of not bringing in that income, it's absolutely terrifying, you know. And it's not like there's like other like jobs available during COVID. You know what I mean?
And we did though. Like I mean, Matt and I worked for our friend Janet and
I did too. Yeah,
landscaping. I think I worked my body harder during COVID landscaping than I ever have in my entire life.
For like the first 3 months of COVID, we only had one client, pet sitting client, one. Mm-hmm. And then some people started to kind of go, but we didn't actually, our clientele didn't pick back up until that fall.
Yeah.
And so 6 months, if you compounded, what would your checking account look like if you went 6 months without your income?
Right.
What would happen? That happened to us.
So back to this lady,
yeah.
What you didn't emphasize what these people were saying. They were essentially, because Leah was telling me this yesterday, we were playing tennis, and she was telling me what they were saying, that she should have saved.
She should have known.
She should have been saving, and she should have known she could have gotten, you know, disabled later on in life. And so she should have just spent her whole life saving. And so since she didn't, it's on her that she doesn't have money. And I looked at Leah and I said, how on earth? Like, not everybody can save. That's ridiculous. And all of these people on Twitter are like, just work harder, get a better job, save more money, be more frugal. Like, I don't understand that brain. Like,
you probably were a stay-at-home mom or something, and then there's not like a workforce for you, and nobody's like hiring you at like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a tricky thing. And I feel like when he made that post, Neil, that what he's saying is that for more of the fiat dollar you rely on, the less you are compassionate on on other people.
Yeah.
And
good.
Jesus had compassion on all people. And, you know, when we're going to talk about, Myanmar, let's talk about Thailand. And what you were saying is that they are an impoverished, you know, actually what's funny is that I guess they say Thailand is better to visit than like the Philippines or other nations. Just throw that out there. It's like really built up well.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of crazy things in East Asia. There's a lot of prostitution. There's a lot of child prostitution. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of pollution. So when we're going to play some of these videos, it's heartbreaking because while there will be people at the top in Thailand, the elites who can rebuild, there will be people at the bottom when they're not only is it going to be hard to rebuild, but they're missing they're missing a lot of people. 1,700 people are just dead. They're just gone. They're gone. I think that is the main.
But we're also in search and rescue.
Okay.
I think is that what you were saying? You said they're missing some.
We're missing some, but the death toll's at about 1,700.
Right. So you've got search and rescue still looking for people,
yeah.
but you have a solid number of 1,700.
Dead. Just gone.
I just want to say this again, and I don't want to take away from Thailand, but just for 1 second. How come we still don't have a death toll from Hurricane Helene?
That's a good question.
Like, this happened 2 days ago, and they have a death toll.
Well, they had the running death toll. So they had a running death toll with Hurricane Helene, but
It was like 10 people, 10 or 20 people. And that doesn't jive with all of the testimonies of people from North Carolina saying we saw bodies everywhere just rotting. Like, what?
All right. Yeah, let's get into this, Michelle. Let's see if you got my tabs up. Death toll skyrockets to more than, it's actually about 1,700 now. This is
In Thailand, the
17 hours
desperate
ago.
race to find survivors from a catastrophic earthquake. Search dogs and drones being used to spot any sign of life. As international aid is pouring into the region, U.S. soldiers are now on the ground in Bangkok.
Honestly, we're just trying to get a handle on what's going on right now.
They're assisting in recovery efforts, where today a massive pile of debris remains after a 33-story high-rise that had been under construction buckled and collapsed, sending workers running for their lives and trapping dozens of others.
It is painstaking work. The heavy equipment has been working to peel back the layers of concrete and debris, trying to reach those people trapped inside.
The 7.7 magnitude earthquake had its epicenter in neighboring Myanmar, a poor and isolated country with an ongoing civil war. State television today announcing the death toll there is now greater than 1,600 people. Thousands more are injured. The hospital's overrun, as patients can be seen in beds outside this hospital in the capital. On Friday, President Trump pledging U.S. assistance in the region.
It's terrible what's happened. It's a real bad one, and we will be helping.
In Thailand, family and friends of the missing construction workers are desperate for any news. Leaders are promising to continue recovery efforts.
We always have hope. We work tirelessly.
The earthquake that had this man clinging to the side of a building for dear life and water cascading from a rooftop has other survivors still recounting their luck.
I was in my hotel and I was very scared because everything started shaking and I've never experienced something like it.
Here in Bangkok, the fuller picture of the devastation is still coming into focus.
And Janice joins us from Bangkok. Janice, how widespread does the destruction there appear to be?
Well, Jose, they've been continuing to work through the night on the scene behind me, but the destruction in Myanmar is far more wide scale and not a lot of information. The electricity and internet have been down. There's also heavy censorship. But the sense is that even as international aid is pouring in, there are logistical challenges in trying to get it to the people who actually need it. Jose?
Thanks for watching.
Wow.
Stay updated.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. You have more up? You want me to grab?
Yeah, let's go to the Breitbart article over here. We can look through some of these pictures.
Oh my gosh.
7.7 magnitude. 2 violent earthquakes actually rocked Southeast Asia on Friday, causing buildings in the Thai capital, Bangkok, to sway and collapse, prompting evacuations across the city, as well as the neighboring Myanmar. Bangkok police say a high-rise building under construction collapsed when a 7.7 magnitude actually hit the capital. If you scroll down, you can see this video of this water cascading from,
They must
I
have
guess,
had a pool up there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Leah, look at the building. Look at the building.
Yeah.
This is, I'm telling y'all something. That's why Michelle doesn't do high risers. No, you don't. I ain't doing it. Like, no, thank you. The whole building just like, no. This is terrifying. I'm terrified. Okay, we've got a rail station. Oh, and there goes the building. There goes the, here's another angle of it. Oh, boy. Yikes. Is this the same building? It looks like a different one. That's the same one. Oh my gosh. Yeah, not okay. Can you imagine being there, like watching that happen? For the podcast listeners, it's just like we just have several angles of this building coming down. It looks like 9/11 all over again, if I'm being honest. Wow. Oh my goodness.
You can see the rubble, just the massive amount of rubble. And then I would be, scared to begin to clean it up and be near any buildings because of like aftershocks and things, right? Because
I'm sure the aftershocks are over now a couple days later, but still, yeah.
Just how do you treat that many people? I don't think they have the infrastructure. And then, the devastating, I just look at the
This is a different building.
Yeah. There's just triage outside under a covered roof. You scroll down, you can see that.
So it's not just that one building that went down. There's,
Bridges
others.
and
Yeah. That's just the biggest picture, I think.
roads cracking. And this is an outdoor, triage.
Well, God, we just lift up these people to you, and I just pray that you send a whole host of angels to surround them and be with them as they recover and try to rescue and then rebuild.
Yeah, rescue and rebuild. Yeah, in Jesus' name. Yeah, for sure. Just comfort them, comfort all their family members, help the rescuers who are, on the ground, helping people to find family members. I just pray that if there are still people trapped in buildings or under rubble, that you help to locate them.
Amen.
And that you help them to survive, and that you're with them right now, and that if anybody's struggling right now, that you're with them. So I've got another, this one is, of course, Elon wants to come in and be a hero, so he's prepared to provide Starlink to assist with communications relief. If you scroll down, high-rise building collapses. This is a different angle here.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, try to turn it down. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's awful.
Obviously, just a lot of panic and just absolute devastation. But I want to go. I'm going to go to my Twitter, Michelle. I'm going to retweet some things, some more recent ones. You can just refresh the page. So we've got some nurses with babies here. What do you do
in hospitals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. These very brave nurses. Wow. Oh, wow. That's terrifying. Oh my gosh. That was, yeah. Wow.
And if you scroll down, there is some rescues, a rescue dog here.
Oh. That's adorable. How does the doggy get in there? So I love that even in Thailand, the golden retriever is the great, rescue dog. That's great. You ready to do another one?
Yeah, so there are just a lot of rooftop pools. And
in Thailand?
In Thailand, they like these lap
Oh my
pool
gosh, there's a
things.
person in there.
Yeah. So it's like
Wait a minute, hang on.
It's not just like, it's like a lot of different pools. That's it.
So this is a compilation of people in their pools during the earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the other one that we saw. Oh my gosh. So, whoa.
There's also probably some tourist.
Whoa. See, that building look like it's gonna go. No. I'm telling you.
Scroll down. You can scroll down. There's another one. You don't have to play like the first minute of it. You can see that a couple lying on here, but then you can fast forward. Well, actually, go back a little bit because in this you can start ready on your mark. Get set. It's starting to go crazy, and we got to get out now.
Get out. Get out of the pool. Get out of the pool. Get out of the pool.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. See, I'm telling you, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting in a rooftop pool. Oh, she's falling down. She can't even stand up. Get inside somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't with these people. There it goes. Okay. Is that it?
If you refresh, I think I have one more.
I want to know what you guys think about this. I mean, this? No.
Yeah, that's part of the devastation.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that is it.
I'm sorry.
That's just the magnitude of the...
This is this giant crater in the earth. Roads just swallowed up. It's a giant earth fissure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that it looks like it happened right where a road was.
Mm-hmm.
People are walking along the side of it.
Oh my God.
Wow. And they just can't keep walking. Their access is completely cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So let me see. I can retweet this and then we can put it up. I'll just retweet it real quick. Just one more ABC clip here.
Oh, wait.
Just refresh.
I did. There we go.
The death toll is rising following a powerful earthquake that rattled much of Southeast Asia.
And this morning, rescue efforts are underway in Thailand and Myanmar to find the hundreds still missing in the rubble. Eyewitness News reporter Monica Dianda joins us live in the newsroom with the latest. Monica?
Tony, Sophie, good morning. The images coming in are incredibly difficult to look at. More than 1,000 people have died so far in the Myanmar earthquake, and thousands more are injured. The death toll is only expected to go up, with hundreds still missing as rescue crews look through the rubble. Take a look. This is a live look from Bangkok, Thailand. And you can see right there a lot of search and rescue crews are out there looking through the rubble, trying to see if they can save anyone and how they're going to go about the cleanup efforts following the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that rattled thousands of people across Southeast Asia Friday. Watch. You could hear the fear in their voices there. The powerful earthquake struck Myanmar Friday in midday, with the epicenter not far from Mandalay. Several aftershocks followed, including a powerful 6.4 magnitude quake. Buildings came toppling down, roads buckled, and bridges collapsed as people ran for their lives. The earthquake also rocking neighboring Thailand, where at least 6 people have been found dead, more than 24 injured, and others still missing. Geophysicist Ross Stein says the fault that shook in this quake is very similar to the San Andreas fault.
This is unprecedented in my experience, that 1,000 kilometers away, 600 miles away, you could fell a building by an earthquake. This section of the fault that ruptured today was the one that had been brought closer to failure. This is the way we can work our way into a very tough problem with some useful information, understanding what parts of the fault are more likely to fail next. And we can apply that same strategies to the San Andreas that we're seeing played out for us here.
The natural disaster striking Myanmar as the country finds itself in the middle of a civil war. The government saying demand for blood is high and humanitarian aid will without a doubt be needed. President Trump vowing the U.S. is going to help, but the specifics of that is still being worked out. In the past, Los Angeles has sent crews overseas to help with major disasters. No word yet on whether or not they plan to send a team to Southeast Asia in the coming days. In the newsroom.
Wow. I think I saw a video of Americans in Thailand.
With the rescue efforts?
Yeah, I think I did.
Wow.
I think I did.
That's fast.
Yeah. So please pray for everybody in Thailand. I really don't know how to go and move on from that. It's rough.
Let me go over here to see what the comments say.
Wow.
Barry says, #1 hit in Myanmar. Elvis Presley all shook up. Apologies, not a nice situation. Brit's dark humor. Suffer to be in the water in an earthquake as long as there's nothing overhead. Safer.
Safer.
AA Ron says the pools act like a countermeasure and strengthens the infrastructure. You think so?
You think so?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not
There
sure.
were also some images of the sky bridges just kind of coming apart because obviously they're not shaking at the same time. So
Red says the skyscrapers are dangerous. I've been in plenty and I've never felt safe. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I feel about them. I've never felt safe in them myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I
don't like to get in elevators, so I don't like to be in buildings that require them.
Yeah, me neither. It's kind of hard to even think about the damaging the damage. I do need to let you know that there will be some coming damaging storms across the United States. So
Specifically us, right?
Yeah.
We have storms that are going to hit, I think, around 8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, so I go.
They're
ahead
going to go
and- if
until
you
2 a.m.
Bring up my
our
history.
time.
We'll go ahead and play this because there is a tornado watch posted for the Midwest and then also off to the East Coast.
We are tracking that widespread significant threat for severe weather for today. So notice St. Louis all the way over to Nashville. Both cities are under the risk for some strong to severe storms, and we are going to keep you ahead of every storm and every kind of threat that you might be dealing with today and into the overnight hours. So let's talk about what's going to be taking place over the next few hours. Unfortunately, we do still have storms that are underway so far this morning, but it's really going to be later this afternoon and evening when we'll watch as we'll have robust thunderstorm development that will unfortunately bring us the potential for some very large hail, upwards of 2 inches in diameter or greater. We could also be dealing with strong, damaging straight line wind, and then also even a few tornadoes, some of which could be strong. We're talking EF2 or stronger tornadoes. So today is definitely not a day that you can let your guard down, and neither is tomorrow. Notice that exact same threat, that level 3 out of 5, is also in place for our Monday. And it encompasses portions of Virginia all the way down into states like Alabama. So we've got an expansive swath of real estate that is under that threat for severe storms, and we are going to be tracking it every step of the way. So let's get right to it and talk about, again, what will be happening. So the severe storm threat, notice there's that cold front that's marching its way eastward, and as it does so, that's going to be a serious situation for us, as unfortunately that means that it will be sparking strong to severe storms right along and ahead of that boundary, meaning that warm sector where we've got all of that instability at place. That's where things are going to be the worst. So Michael, I want to bring you in on this because I believe we might have to switch over to Max.
Yeah, it's on my Max, just so that our directors know the back. But here's the thing is that the severe weather that we're looking at today is going to be more of an afternoon/evening and overnight sort of event.
Right.
And so as you're heading to bed later on this evening, that's really going to be the target time for seeing the heavy showers, the strong to severe thunderstorms, and the expanse, just how long the real estate is,
Right.
Kendall, from literally East Texas all the way up through southern Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
And then you think about the northern side of the storm, and that's where we've got an ice storm taking place.
Yeah,
So
we sure do.
I mean, it is really classic spring storm setup.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at this, it's been a very active month so far, and it's going to stay that way. So we've been kind of joking, but not joking about the fact that the saying March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. That's not the case.
So we could get some large hail.
Still roaring.
No, we're in the tornado watch. We're in the big deal. Like
tornado
sent it to you
damage
today.
I know, but I
as you can
also
see
noticed
here, there's
that.
also that wind damage threat, not to mention the large hail threat out of this as well. So to make a real long story short, for your Sunday, you're going to really need to make sure that you're paying very close attention, especially during the afternoon and evening hours from Nashville up to Indianapolis, because again, all of those ingredients are there for us to see the heavy showers and strong to severe storms. We look for not just a rising motion, which helps to build the clouds, right? We also look for wind shear, which is a change of wind direction with height. That's important, especially down here where you're seeing the surface winds in orange coming in from the south. Meanwhile, from the west, it is those 10,000-foot winds. That twisting and turning in the atmosphere, storms love to tap into that sort of energy, bring that down to the ground, and that's where we could see that tornadic problem. You look at the amount of instability or the amount of gas and fuel for the fire, the moisture, and these dew point temperatures. Whenever you see dew point temperatures in the mid and upper 50s, low 60s, it means that that octane with that fuel, if you will, is high. So long story short, later on this
let's just say a prayer. Not often do we pre-pray for storms and things. But God, I just lift up everybody in the path of this storm across the United States, and I pray that you keep them safe. I pray that your angels will surround us. I pray, Father God, that you keep people's houses safe, that you keep people's families safe, that you keep them from going places they shouldn't go, being under bridges or roads that they shouldn't be on. Keep them out of path of tornadoes. If there's going to be a tornado, may nobody be in the path of it. And I just thank you, Father God, that you just calm the storms, and we say peace to the storm in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Now is a good time to tell you guys. So Pastor Neil Peterson of Harvest Revival Center has a miracle and healing service going on tonight.
Oh, I don't know, Neil.
And and that's an hour north of us here in Ohio. And I kind of jokingly said to Leah, I said, "Hey, because I just found out about it. I said, hey, do you want to head up there tonight?" And then I remembered the weather. And I was like, nope, we're not going to go. We might live stream it. But regardless of whether we do or not, you can watch. I'm sure you'll be able to watch it on their live stream, which is on YouTube and on Facebook.
All right. So Trump's mad. Putin, I think, it was, flexing his muscle back with Trump being mad at Zelensky. So Trump had mentioned that, they needed to have new elections. So Putin pushed that button, and Trump didn't like the push of the button, I guess. But this is a little bit of hearsay.
Mr. Trump said 20.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just switching to the screen and then she started talking. Here we go.
Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine. On Iran, the president said he's also considering secondary tariffs if Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal. Quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
I love her quoting Trump. And she should have given the Trump emphasis. There'll be bombing of the likes of which they've never seen before.
It is funny to see them actually have to be nice to Trump right now.
Even though they keep calling him Mr. Trump?
Well, yeah, they're doing that because some people still don't like him. But like Bill Maher, who thinks Trump is a Nazi, it's so amazing how these people switch overnight. So Bill Maher got to meet with Trump, and he was giddy over meeting with President Trump. And so everything that you see here is kabuki theater. I really, really, really despise Bill Gates. I don't want to meet with him. I don't want to talk with him. I know when a bad guy when they see it. The problem is that when you don't have Jesus, the bad guy can flip on and off, because remember, these guys were friends with Trump. They rubbed shoulders with Trump. They had Trump in all their movies. They had Trump in their songs. So they don't really hate Trump. Right. Okay. They just don't like us. Why should Trump's refusal to make big concessions come as a surprise to why should Russia's refusal to make big concessions come as any surprise to either the White House or mainstream media, given Russian forces clearly are steadily gaining in the battlefield? In a phone interview with NBC on Sunday, President Trump said, if Russia and I aren't able to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, if I think it's Russia's fault, which it may not be, but if I think it's Russia's fault, I'm going to put secondary tariffs on the oil, on all oil coming out of Russia. I'm just going to tariff you, and I'm tariffing you. And I got a pen and a phone. I got a tariff. I got a tariff. I got a tariff. The sanctions are no good. Tariffs are better, because at least we get something out of it.
That's good.
That's actually true. That's true. Trump went on to say that he's very angry, particularly at Putin's attacking the legitimacy of Volodymyr Zelensky. and added that I was very angry when Putin started getting into Ukrainian President Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine. Trump said that Putin's comments on Zelensky are not going in the right direction. This was in reference to a Friday plan pitched by Putin for a transitional administration for Ukraine under the auspices of the UN. The immediate aim would be, now here's the thing. I believe that Putin read Trump's Art of the Deal.
Sure.
You got to go big because here's the thing. Then you can walk it back. If you go small, there's no walking it back, right?
Or there's no walking it forward.
There's no, exactly. So the immediate aim would be ceasefire leading toward democratic elections, followed by the negotiation of a peace agreement with the new authorities. We could, of course, discuss with the United States, even with European countries, and of course, with our partners and friends under the auspices of the UN and the possibility of establishing a transnational administration in Ukraine, Putin said, while visiting the northwestern Russian city of Murmansk. He laid out that we could discuss the possibility of introduction of temporary governance in Ukraine while Ukraine holds democratic elections to bring to power a capable government that enjoys the trust of the people. After this, he explained the two warring sides would start talks with them about a peace treaty. Putin has, in the recent past, complained that Zelensky is illegitimate and thus can't legally be negotiated with since he has canceled Democrat elections on an infinite basis. So Trump was clearly has clearly brushed aside this aside in this new comments. However, Trump attacking Putin for denouncing Zelensky as illegitimate will surely not be taken as a very serious critique by the Kremlin, given the irony of Trump himself not too long ago having himself blasted Zelensky as a dictator without elections. Putin was just pushing and wanted to see, well, how far did you want to take that, sir? Mm-hmm. Because you did call him illegitimate, and you literally tweeted out he's illegitimate and he's a dictator.
Right.
And so Putin's like, well, let's see if you mean it. So with Trump getting angry, it's a back and forth, and we're all watching it, and we saw Trump call him a little dictator and unelected. And so Putin's like, well, let's put your money where your mouth is. I guess, you know, the theory with Trump is probably, let's get this done now. What you're talking about is going to take like a year or two. Mm-hmm. But I'm president now, and we have to get this done now. So Putin is probably laughing. He's like, well, I tried.
That's
right?
Great. Yeah, I think that's good.
It's interesting because Zelensky floated around that Putin will die soon. And then one of his motorcades got bombed this week.
Yeah.
Putin also, Putin's floating that plan, so.
That's all you wanted to say on it?
I don't really have anything else. What else?
So there was I think it was what was it? It wasn't a limousine.
It was one of his limousines.
It was a limousine and one of Putin's motorcades blew up.
Yeah, but he wasn't in it. So
right, but still, like it begs the question, huh?
It does. It does beg the question, huh? So BlackRock was supposed to buy the Panama Canal, and then it would be in U.S. hands. Donald Trump was happy about this, right? Because Donald Trump's trying to buy up real estate like Monopoly Board for the United States. And it doesn't matter if we own it or somebody American owns it, even though BlackRock is an international company, but who's counting? China actually pushed back on that. And so BlackRock's Panama port deal won't be signed next week. Trump's master plan to strengthen the hemispheric defense aimed at eliminating Chinese influence in the Panama Canal appears to actually have hit a bottleneck.
No pun intended.
Get it? At the end of the week, a new report on Saturday reveals that Hong Kong's CK Hutchison will not sign a deal next week to sell its two ports on either side of the canal to a BlackRock-led consortium. It's back to the drawing board for the Trump administration, which will now need to implement new tactics to pressure Panama to rid itself of Chinese communist influence. Sources told Reuters that Hong Kong billionaire Li Ka-shing's deal to sell the Panama ports, including Balboa and Cristobal on either side of the canal, will not have the proper paperwork signed with the BlackRock-led investor group by the April 2nd deadline for obvious reasons. There's a lot going on April 2nd. Those obvious reasons include an infuriated CCP, which views Lee as having bent the knee to Trump and the Americans by agreeing to give up such critical infrastructure around the canal. For weeks, various Chinese media outlets called CK Hutchison's billionaire founder spineless and questioned which side he should stand on. Another source said that talks are still very much underway regarding the $19 billion deal, which includes 43 ports in 23 countries. On Friday, the South China Morning Post first revealed that CK Hutchison Holdings will not go ahead with the expected signing of a deal next week to sell its 2 strategic ports to the Panama Canal. In another report, the Telegraph noted Chinese authorities have effectively blacklisted CK Hutchison and the business interests of the Lee family by telling Chinese state-backed firms they will struggle to get regulatory approval for any work involving this group. So you have the Chinese government, the CCP, putting pressure on these billionaires. You know, Hong Kongers have been in finance. It's very expensive to live in Hong Kong. And they flourished financially under this kind of free market capitalism, cronyism, in what was once a British outpost colony. And Hong Kong was a relatively free place until COVID hit, and a lot of people believe that the Hong Kong protests, COVID was a result of, you know, China just wanting to put a kibosh on the Hong Kong protests because the Hong Kongers were actually gaining momentum and freedom and freeing themselves from the CCP. So anybody who is based in Hong Kong, making a great living in Hong Kong, I believe there's a duality of a mindset. Like if you've been in business for many, many years, you're used to just operating freely like you could when you're in America. And then now you're having to deal with the CCP, which is desiring to put more pressure on the world. You can see it's like a weather system. China is the big weather system focused on dominating the American weather system. At the same time, American businesses have to work with China. They make so much money by outsourcing to China. But they also don't want the CCP to dominate. They want to use them. But then the CCP doesn't want to be dominated.
Right.
They want to use. They were happy to have you bring your business, just like anybody, you know, every municipality wants you to bring business. They want you to bring jobs, want you to do, you know, so they're happy to bring the jobs. But with that comes a tremendous amount of finance. And then we know that China uses their fake yuan. We know that they have, if the Federal Reserve is using fractional reserve banking, I don't know what to call what the CCP does with their yuan. The world does not even honor it. That's why they
it gets filtered through Hong Kong.
They washed it through Hong Kong. Yeah, exactly.
It's a money laundering scheme, and that's why they have to have Hong Kong, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to continue with what they do with their yuan.
So Denmark and Greenland are pushing back on Vance's visit. J.D. Vance, we saw him go and visit the 750 military personnel on Greenland, and it was very cold. You can see, it's funny, having been cold or been outside when it's cold, you can see when people are cold. There's like a look on their body and a look on their face when they're actually cold. And like in this picture here, he's wearing, I believe, like a thermal, like to keep you super warm. And the guy next to him is wearing like a puffer jacket with a jacket over top. Like it's cold. Okay. Leadership in Denmark and Greenland are actually pushing back against the Trump administration's proposal to take over Greenland following a controversial visit to the territory by J.D. Vance. Jens Frederik Nielsen, Greenland's new prime minister, said on March 28th that Vance's visit signaled a lack of respect and called for political unity to combat foreign interference. At a time when we as a people are under pressure, we must stand together, Nielsen said during a press conference in Nuuk on March 28th. The comments came just hours after Vance led a delegation to a U.S. Space Force base in Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. He accused Danish leadership of underinvesting in defense, which he said had allowed Chinese and Russian infiltration into the Americas. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. Denmark has not kept pace and devoted the resources necessary to keep this base, to keep our troops, and in my view, to help the people of Greenland to be safe from very aggressive incursions from Russia, China, and other nations. The United States has significantly scaled back its own Arctic defense spending over the decades, including Greenland. To that end, Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said that the United States had maintained 17 bases and more than 10,000 service members across the territory during the Cold War, but now only maintain one base, about 200 personnel. Denmark, meanwhile, is currently engaged in a $2 billion push to modernize its capabilities in the region. Trump said that owning Greenland is an absolute necessity.
Oh my gosh. Trump. No, it is not. Stop it. We do not get to just say we need another country as a necessity.
So they had a public demonstration with some people, make America go away and Yankees go home.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see how that works out.
It's ridiculous.
If everything is going to be okay, why is the U.S. and the EU fervently preparing for World War III? If there's going to be peace in the Middle East, why has the Pentagon sent 25% of our entire fleet of B-2 stealth bombers to the region? And if there is going to be peace in Europe, why is the European Union telling all of their citizens to store up food and water for a war with Russia? We keep being told that everything is going to be okay, but meanwhile, Western officials continue to make moves that indicate that more war is coming. According to Newsweek, the United States has significantly increased its military power in the Middle East during the past couple of weeks. The U.S. has significantly increased its military presence in both the Gulf and Indian Ocean, deploying B-2 stealth bombers, cargo planes, and aerial refueling tankers alongside key assets like the USS Carl Vinson and the USS Harry Truman. It's being reported that at least 5 B-2 stealth bombers have been deployed to the island of Diego Garcia. The U.S. military has sent at least 5 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to a highly strategic island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. These heavy bombers can obliterate targets with their huge 25-ton bomb payload per jet. This means the U.S. deadly fleet of 5 could carry an astonishing 125 tons of bombs. For those who do not know, Afghanistan was relentlessly bombed by the U.S. air assets based in Diego Garcia during the invasion of the nation in 2021. And Iraq was relentlessly bombed by U.S. air assets based in Diego Garcia during the invasion of the nation in 2003. Currently, the U.S. only possesses 20 B-2 stealth bombers, and so that means that 25% are now on that island. It's being speculated that these B-2 bombers could be involved in an ongoing campaign to bomb the Houthis in Yemen, which is another article that Trump says he's not going to stop bombing in Yemen. But it's important to note that these B-2 bombers would also be ideal to carry out the sort of bunker buster strikes that would be necessary to take out Iran's nuclear program. So the bombers present a unique mix of capabilities, particularly their ability to penetrate past defense, enemy air defense, to carry out bunker buster strikes, employing 30,000-pound class GBU 57B massive ordnance penetrator bombs, MOP bombs. So the MOP, which only the B-2 is currently certified to employ operationally, itself offers a unique conventional options for striking deeply buried fortified targets. So we're looking at what's going on in Iran. We're looking at what's happening, with the Palestinians and Israel, and we're looking at the Houthis in Yemen. And I am not understanding the push for war with Russia from the European side. I have always felt like they were just a boy crying wolf. Are they truly going to help Ukraine? Are they really going to go all in with that? Because that is a world war. Like, that's a world war. And then that puts the United States at war with Russia. And that's not going to happen because Trump is not going to go to war with Russia. So I don't know what their plan is here. I feel like they might be backed into a corner. Either the Iranians make an agreement to end their nuclear program within 2 months, or they will be attacked. That's what Trump says, but we don't really know if he's actually going to do that. Trump revealed that he has sent a letter to Tehran demanding a new nuclear agreement within 2 months. The Iranians already told them they're not going to negotiate. So we'll see who's going to actually play chicken on that. In a recent interview with Face the Nation, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz made it clear that there will be no compromises. Of course, they have to. You're negotiating. There's no compromises. Like, you don't come to the table and say, hey, this is my deadline, but it's negotiable, right? That's not how you do it. Meanwhile, the European Union is pushing every household in the 25-nation bloc to prepare for an emergency kit. I'm going to play this video of it, but it's very embarrassingly cheeky. So I don't understand.
Cheeky or cheesy?
Like, it seems cheeky. Let's play it. It's like a couple down.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like tongue in cheek. Why are we laughing? If you're really facing a crisis, seems like a joke.
It's Ajal Habib. Welcome to What's in My Bag Survival Edition. First up,
I can't make
my
it
glasses.
bigger. Okay. What's going on? Hang on. I'm going to watch this on X so I can make it bigger. 1 second.
What's in my bag? Survival edition. First up, my glasses.
You mean it seems like a
super
spoof?
important if you want to see what is happening or not. Next, my document in a waterproof pouch, a must in a rainy Brussels. Now, let's talk about lighting. I have a flashlight. If you don't forget the matches and of course, the light. Turn.
Well, this has got to be a joke.
And water, of course, because water is life. And my special friend, a Swiss Army knife. 18 tools in only one knife. A must-have. And don't forget your medication. You might need it, because you never know. And don't forget something to eat. You might be hungry, very hungry. And of course, some cash. In the middle of a crisis, cash is king. And your credit card might just be a piece of plastic, a charger, and a power bank. Because a dead phone is a dead end. Playing cards, a bit of distraction, never hurt anyone. And don't forget a radio. The smaller one. This is everything you need to survive the first 72 hours of a crisis. Speaking about being prepared, the EU is preparing its strategy to be sure that every citizen is safe in case of crisis. Be prepared, be safe.
What did I just watch?
I don't know, but if you're going to try to tell people things that they need, then do the video and show people things that they need. Like, how much water do they need? You had this tiny little bottle of water. You had a few little crackers, and your matches are taking up too much room.
So having watched this now for the first time.
Yeah, sorry, I had seen it.
I have a mild theory, which may or may not be accurate, but it's possible that they're like, listen, we know what's going down.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be prepared. But if we put out a you need to be prepared video, people will go into panic.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want people to go into panic. So if we put out a video and we make it like a joke, then we can at least say that we prepared you, but people, because it's a joke, they won't really take it that seriously and they won't go into panic.
Yes, if you go down on that particular article, she actually is a serious person. And here she is explaining the 72-hour survival.
Efficiency and a survival handbook. There's one here, actually. This is one Sweden publishes. We've taken that as a source of inspiration. I travelled a lot, or have travelled a lot since I took up my post, as I said, to see what's been done in Finland, Sweden and elsewhere. There was a survey which showed that our citizens are informed about the risks and dangers which they might face to different extents in different countries. And obviously the geopolitical situation varies from country to another. Finland has a border with Russia of more than 1,000 kilometres, as Spain, Portugal, Greece are more concerned by wildfires. Belgium, different situation again. We don't know what the threats might be, even though we have had floods here in Belgium too. So basically, we are saying to member states, look, 72 hours self-sufficiency is what we recommend. Water, food in cans or tins, lighting, some waterproof package, your medicines, your ID documents, radio, long-wave radio, so you can keep in touch with others. I've been in Ukraine a lot, actually, to see what they were doing, because obviously they are in the front line when it comes to having to be creative, because they're under attack. There are applications which exist in Ukraine which makes it possible to see what's approaching in the skies. Is it a drone? Is it a missile? Do you have to go straight to a shelter? Do you have to just duck under a table? So lots of lessons learned, really, from partners and by partners within the EU and candidate countries, and globally as well. I was in Bangladesh. We have agreements with countries in Latin America as well, who are dealing with natural disasters on a recurrent basis, cyclones and so on. So we have discussions, administrative.
So it's very interesting that she said long-wave radio to communicate with others, and I'm just wondering what that would look like.
Here's the thing.
We can't even, I don't even know how to use ham radio.
The interpreter, I'm hearing the interpreter's voice. But she just explained, in seriousness, all the same things that we watched in the little spoof video. So that's genuinely what they are recommending.
This is Hadja Labib, and she is the EU Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management.
Okay, listen to me. I want you to scrap what she said except for the medicines. All right. If you need to be prepared, 72 hours is not enough to be prepared with. What I mean is you need to be prepared for stuff that's going to go longer than 72 hours.
Yeah.
Okay? If you genuinely need to be prepared for something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, and the water. The food and the water and the medicine, but the joking video didn't have, very much of any of those things. My question is, like, she's like, you need to have your identification documents. I'm like, why, if you're like at home? And this kind of bug out bag type deal, is this if you're just traveling? Do you need to carry this thing with you at all times? This is my question. Because are we talking about being at home, or are we talking about being caught off guard?
She's just talking about all kinds of threats. In the EU, we must think different because the threats are different. We must think bigger because the threats are bigger. The pandemic has shown the added value of acting together in solidarity and coordination. Keep in mind, these are the same people that ridiculed the preparedness movement only 10 years ago and then accused survivalists of being hoarders during the COVID lockdown. The advice given, however, is not useful, and one can only conclude that the EU is only trying to make it look like they care should the geopolitical situation go sideways. Her video is not tongue-in-cheek parody. She is quite serious. She claims that in her travels around Europe, she gathered perspectives on emergency survival that were eventually applied to the EU Go Bag recommendations. A true 72 survival kit, which is not what the EU is actually promoting here, would only be useful for short-term natural disasters as a means to get to a safe place with the assumption of extensive government aid. It could also be used to shelter in place, but again, relying on government aid and emergency services to arrive swiftly. A long-term widespread crisis like a near-peer war would require extensive preps well beyond just the first few days. For example, the bare minimum standard for a survival food supply is 3 months. Why? Because that's how long it generally takes for government agencies to show up and start repairing damage to essential services. Think about what happened in North Carolina. Also consider the fact that the little government aid is available during a broad spectrum crisis. Beyond slow response time, needy citizens with no preps will need to consider the cost of government reliance. What will they do? Will they disarm you? So this was a very poor, like, that is what you would take on a day trip to go visit a museum.
Exactly. Barry says, Michelle, the EU has been saying stuff like this since 1993. But they need the UK's armed forces and French armed forces because the two are the only nations with a standing, highly trained army.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So are they preparing for World War III? That's the questions. Do EU bureaucrats know something that the rest of us don't? Sadly, it appears that even the very limited agreements that Russia and Ukraine just agreed to are not going to hold. The Ukrainians just launched more strikes against Russia energy infrastructure. The Russians just keep sending waves of drone attacks at Ukrainian cities. Hopefully both sides will come to their senses, but this is not, this is kind of a one shot at peace. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte issued a stern warning to Vladimir Putin, stating that any attack on Poland, obviously, or any other NATO, and I don't believe Putin would do that. That would be insane, right? So is he actually expecting an attack on Poland or NATO country? I don't understand why that would be a bold statement. Ominously, we are told that 4 U.S. soldiers were just found dead near Lithuania's border with Belarus. 4 U.S. soldiers have reportedly been found dead in Lithuania after going missing during a training mission. A major search operation was launched after the tracked vehicle they were traveling in disappeared. So hopefully we will learn more details on that shortly. And remember, Zelensky predicted that Putin would die soon. So there's a lot going on right now. We will not allow it. Zelensky rejects new mineral draft that would recognize U.S. support as loans. So Zelensky has said during a private Friday press conference that he's not going to recognize past U.S. military aid as loans. After Washington sent a new draft of the mineral deals to Kiev. Listen, we're in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend.
You gave me the gift.
You gave me the gift. I'm not going to consider it a loan. Ukraine received a new agreement project from the U.S. regarding mineral resources, which is an entirely different document from the previous framework agreement. Zelensky, adding, Ukraine will not recognize U.S. military aid as debt. We are grateful for the support, but this is not a credit, and we will not allow it, Zelensky confirmed. The president, Zelensky, also said that they are unwilling to negotiate with Vladimir Putin or with someone who would represent Russia. and instead said, I think that if there are people, I think there are businesses in Russia, and they have many different regions, including serious business areas. I think that we would communicate with them if they have a vision on how to end the war. One Ukrainian lawmaker said on Telegram that the revised mineral agreement is a horror that offers no security guarantees from Washington. So I guess we're not getting anywhere fast.
Barry says in finishing his statement, France and the UK aren't talking anything like having a war with Russia or putting boots on the ground without the USA backstop. It's all EU BS. It's a drive to get a EU army off the ground. That's an interesting perspective.
Speaking of bombings and war, Trump said on Wednesday, he claimed that U.S. daily airstrikes on Yemen have been very successful and vowed that the bombing campaign would continue for a long time. The U.S. started bombing Yemen again on March 15th in response to the Houthis, officially known as the Ansar Allah, announcing they would reimpose a blockade on Israel shipping due to Israeli ceasefire violations in Gaza. Since the Trump administration launched the bombing campaign, the Houthis have restarted attacks on U.S. warships and resumed firing missiles at Israel. Operations they ceased when the Gaza ceasefire went into effect January 19th. Despite this, Trump says the Houthis want peace. The Houthis are looking to do something. They want to know, how do we stop? How do we stop? How can we have peace? The Houthis want peace because they're getting the blank knocked out of them, Trump said. They want us to stop so badly, they've got to say no mas.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is hilarious. So did you really say that? You really gave them a Hispanic accent? And oh, that's hilarious. So, but I can only say that the attacks every day, every night have been very successful beyond our wildest expectations. We're going to do it for a long time. We can keep it going for a long time. Just when Trump says things like that, it's so weird. I want to read to you. No, I can't read to you. Thank you, Zero Hedge. We're just going to read the title. Looks like
Thomas
Massey is saying bombing Yemen is not America first, and here's why. Michelle, do you want to fill in the blank? I don't. Honestly, guys, here's the thing.
I don't know what Thomas Massey would say about it. I know what I would say about it. It's not America first because it goes back to this imperialistic mindset. If we don't have interest in trying to acquire something that does not belong to us, then why would we be doing this? So it actually probably is America first because that's the thing. What's the difference? In my humble opinion, there's a difference between what I consider to be America first and what Trump considers to be America first. I consider America first going, you know what? We're not going to let other people take advantage of us anymore. We're going to put our best interest first. We're not going to give all of this humanitarian aid, and not even humanitarian aid, just all this aid to all of these countries and these, stupid, ridiculous things all around the world. We're going to just start putting our country first.
Yeah.
When Trump says America first, what Trump means is America's going to go and get it before anybody else can get it. America is going to put their troops on the ground. They're going to put their money where their mouth is, and they're going to go and grab and take everything that is loose like a little tooth and just pull it from somebody that it's survival of the fittest, essentially. Like if they can take it, Trump's thinking if we can take it, if a country can't hang on to whatever it is, whether it's their oil or their natural resources or minerals or, you name it, like Greenland, it's like, listen, they don't have the power to stand against us. So we are going to imperially go in and take it. That's what Trump means when he says America first. And I'm not down with that. Like, that's not what I mean when I think America first. So what does Thomas Massey mean when he says it's not America first? I don't know. But all I know is that whatever's going on with Trump doing this does not have anything to do with America's at-home base interests. It has everything to do with Trump trying to get something or do something that we should not be involved in and have no right to.
Yeah, so now we're going to shift gears and talk about the tariffs that will be implemented this week.
Which this I would consider actually America first, the right way.
Trump's long-promised plan to shake up the economy arrives Wednesday as he prepares to unleash his most significant round of tariffs yet. He already has slapped duties on imports that have roiled markets and ignited a global trade war. 2 months ago, in his White House return, Trump imposed tariffs on goods from neighboring Canada and Mexico, as well as China, all steel and aluminum imports, and foreign cars and auto imports. He's threatened several other countries, including traditional allies in the European Union, with other steep tariffs, even on European wine. Yet Trump has circled April 2nd as the true culmination of his American first trade policy as he seeks to boost domestic manufacturing by making it more expensive for companies to ship products into the United States. That's when Trump is set to announce his reciprocal tariffs, which will apply to countries that are the largest contributors to the $1.2 trillion U.S. trade deficit. It will officially go into effect on Thursday. Here's what we know ahead of what Trump has called the big one. Trump has said his administration's suite of reciprocal tariffs will apply to nations that charge fees on U.S. exports, promising to match those countries' duties with tariffs at the same rate. On February 13th, Trump signed a memorandum that directed the U.S. trade officials to go country by country and put together a slate of tailored countermeasures. Trump has said the reciprocal tariffs will offset trade practices of other nations that his administration deems unfair, while encouraging companies to make products in the United States. In 2024, the U.S. imported $1.2 trillion more in goods than it exported. Trump has explained the U.S. has allowed other nations to levy tariffs on U.S. exports without any consequence. So what is the Dirty 15? Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett last week said the Trump administration, beginning April 2nd, will apply a reciprocal tariff number to each country based on what they charge U.S. exports. He said the countries most impacted will be the 15% of nations that contribute most significantly to the U.S. trade deficit and impose the largest tariffs. There's what we call the Dirty 15, Bassett said on Fox Business, adding they have substantial tariffs and other unfair trade barriers. It's 15% of the countries, but it's a huge amount of our trading volume. The White House has not released a list of these 15 dirty countries, but the countries with the largest trade deficits with the U.S. are China, the EU, Mexico, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Canada, India, Thailand, Switzerland, Malaysia. The reason why the EU is one country, even though it's not, is that they trade as a bloc. Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, South Africa, according to the Wall Street Journal. Bassett's remarks suggest that Trump's administration could be narrowing the scope of the reciprocal tariffs from what Trump originally proposed. And although Trump this week imposed tariffs on the auto industry, his administration is likely to exclude other sector-specific tariffs that Trump had previously discussed. This includes the 25% tariffs on all semiconductor, microchips, and pharmaceutical imports that Trump said he intends to impose but has yet to carry out. Asked on Friday if he expected to put any expectations in place for life-saving medications, Trump told reporters while he was on Air Force One, well, we'll be announcing it soon, but we have to bring pharmaceuticals, drugs, and pharmaceuticals back into our country. So basically, there's just a lot of uncertainty. He said, we're going to make it very lenient. I think people are going to be very surprised. So we're still at the surprise zone. I'm sure that Canada and other nations they're more on the to know what's going to hit. But all of this uncertainty is not very good for the markets. The market, ended down on Friday. And then the EU wars, the car wars, the EU probably strikes back. The Trump administration's decision to slap a 25% tariff on imported cars and parts is yet another move in America's ongoing trade battles. Following the global steel and aluminum tariffs, this latest escalation puts pressure on the EU to respond. From Stefan Koopman, senior macro strategist at the Rabobank, he says, as we noted in our special report released yesterday, we believe the European Union prefers to make a deal and prevent a full-blown trade war. However, we argue that the Brussels decision-making procedures are designed in such a way that escalation is technically the path of least resistance. Therefore, absent any agreement or any clear prospect thereof, European leaders will most likely strike back to any tariffs imposed by the U.S., even if not fully and with some delay. We also show in their report that the use of the EU's so far never used anti-coercion instrument is an option open to the European Commission, especially if the U.S. tops up this week's measures with its already infamous reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. This approach, however, would take more time, face more internal hurdles in the EU, and could provoke an even more severe counter-response from the U.S., one that may extend beyond economic statecraft to political or military actions. This complicates an already complex situation. Therefore, at least initially, we expect the EU to bundle its response in rebalancing measures, i.e. rebalancing tariffs. Let's see, a plausible scenario for such a backdrop. Let's see, our baseline scenario for the economy, we have included a 5% tariff hike on all U.S. imports. The current measures announced still fall within this range, so there is no immediate reason to adjust the projections. The plausible scenario for such a backdrop would be if Trump follows through on his threat for an additional 25% tariffs on other selected goods, such as the pharmaceuticals and the chips, or a 25% universal tariff, which is what he was saying before. The U.S. reportedly, fittingly, the U.S. reported another astonishingly high trade deficit number for Friday. The deficit in goods amounted to the USD 147.9 billion on top of January's USD 155 billion deficit. This averages to a whopping USD 1.8 trillion annualized, over 66% of U.S. GDP. The widening deficit reflects the efforts by U.S. companies to secure goods and materials in advance of the higher tariffs. In fact, much of the widening in the deficit since December 2024 can be traced to imports of, get this, what? Gold bars. Gold bars, predominantly from Switzerland and the UK. The advanced February data suggests strong imports of industrial supplies, which not only includes gold, but also steel and aluminum, were still a key driver. But even if industrial supplies are excluded, the trade deficit would be at record levels. So this chart here, I find it definitely crazy. You're seeing the imports just skyrocket, ready to get ahead. I mean, it's just insane. It's just crazy. It's kind of hard to look at, and it's gold bars, basically, the U.S. gold imports here. Man, they're really.
If you have a hard time seeing this graph, look all the way to the right, and you see this giant spike.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out at 5 billion, and then it spikes to 40 billion on the far right there. So essentially, it's hovering between 5 and 10 billion for all of from 2016 to 2025, so roughly for the past 9 years. And then boom, you see this giant spike to 30.436 billion.
Yeah, so this is look, they're obviously the people in the room are bringing in gold. That's what they're doing right now. That's what the people in the world are doing right now. Let's go see what Mr. Poliver is saying about the tariffs over here. Pierre Poliver reacts to Trump's imposition of the 25% tariffs on car parts made outside the U.S. And they have an election coming up, and we all thought that Pierre Poliver was going to be the next prime minister, but something weird is happening, and the Liberals are definitely leading in the polls.
Like all Canadian leaders, forced to address yet another attack by President Trump against our economy. Here he goes again, attacking his closest neighbor and America's best friend, with new tariffs that will drive up the cost of living for American consumers and drive down American wages while damaging a historic friendship, the best trading relationship in the world. My message to President Trump is knock it off. Stop attacking America's friends. Start trading so that we can once again become richer, stronger, and more secure on both sides of the border. That is how we will have the money for stronger military and stronger borders to secure our continent against real threats and real enemies. We will never be the 51st state, but we can once again be friends with the United States if the president reverses course on these disastrous tariff threats. But I have a further message for President Trump. If you decide to go down this road, this is what's going to happen. Yes, you'll do damage to us in the short term, but we'll fight back and we will build back. Within 4 years of a new, strong, conservative government, Canada will be completely rebuilt. We will rebuild our economy. We will not be reliant on the U.S. anymore, and the Americans will have lost the greatest trading partner and friend they ever had. A conservative government will build pipelines and LNG plants, aggressively promote mines and other resource infrastructure that has been blocked for the last 10 years. We'll have new overseas trading partners. We will knock down interprovincial barriers so that we can trade with ourselves. We will send our goods to our friends on other sides of the oceans of the world. We will cut taxes and speed up permits so that we can sell our oil, gas, mining, lumber, agriculture, fisheries, manufacturing, small businesses and large businesses alike. The world needs our resources and our expertise. If you, Mr. Trump, don't want them, the rest of the world does. Under a new conservative government, we will put Canada first for a change. We will be a nation that is strong, self-reliant, standing on its own 2 feet so that we can stand up for ourselves and stand up to the Americans.
Sorry.
So I want to play here the Premier of Ontario, Canada, Doug Ford here of the Liberals here. He's to the left there.
But I can assure you one thing, we're going to make sure that we inflict as much pain as possible to the American people without inflicting pain on the Canadian population. And that
Oh, well, that's heavy words.
Well, if you go back to my Twitter here, just refresh the page. Just to remind you, these are the tariffs that Canada puts on U.S. goods.
So they put a 270% markup of tariffs on milk, 245 on cheese, 298 on butter, 238 on chicken, 69.9 on sausages, 163 on eggs, 94 on wheat, 57 on barley, 26.5 on bovine or meat, 25 on steel, 10 to 45 on aluminum, 48 copper, and 45% on cars.
So who's the bad guy here?
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. Like companies in Canada are now offering free therapy sessions to
for crying out loud.
Canadians feeling stressed about Trump. A survey found that 42% of Americans or Canadians already have massive anxiety over Trump's tariffs.
Oh my.
Which is interesting.
So you know what this reminds me of? If you guys missed the start of the program and Leah was talking about this woman who was being ripped to shreds on Twitter because she's 70, she's disabled, and she has to work at a diner and she's struggling. And this lady raised her, $250,000 on GoFundMe. And a lot of people on the Twitter were like, you should have just been saving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, who cares that you are disabled? Who cares that you can't work? You should have just been saving. However, when it comes to Canada, this is what I would say. If you're imposing that level of tariffs on the United States, you should have been preparing for the day when America might clap back. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is going to hurt you guys so badly, why haven't you been preparing? Why is it that it's so, I mean, you're essentially, I don't know about the tariffs that we have on them. We don't have a comparison, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those exact like apples to apples that we just read. But I'm going to guess it's probably not apples to apples on them importing those types of things into the United States.
Yeah, I've got a couple ones. If you go back to my Twitter, and we have the Prime Minister of Canada here calling for an emergency press conference on March 26th.
President Trump announced 25% tariffs against our auto industry. And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of, Unifor workers I stood in front of this morning at the Ambassador Bridge. A bridge that is a symbol and a reality up until now of the tight ties between our two countries, ties of kinship, ties of commerce, ties that are in the process of being broken. We will defend our workers.
So I do like this statement from Viva Frey, and he says, imagine being Donald Trump imposing tariffs on Canada, and in doing so, giving the biggest layup to Pierre Poilievre, where all Pierre Poilievre has to say and keep hammering was, if it wasn't for the Liberals, we wouldn't have these tariffs. If it wasn't for the Liberals, we wouldn't have these tariffs. Instead, he's going after Trump, which is not, I guess, the best move. If the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the United States, large-scale tariffs, far larger than currently planned, will be placed on both of them in order to protect the best friend that each of those countries has ever had. If you go back, I have retweeted an article on U.S. tariffs and to show you a graph that the United States has the lowest tariff rate in the entire world.
It makes sense because we are the giver of all things to everyone. Right here.
Every G20 country has higher average tariff rates than the United States, save two, and most countries hide the true cost in expensive barriers like quotas, price controls, labeling requirements, and testing rules. So the United States has the lowest levels. We're like backwards on tariffs. But if you scroll down, Canada has released its Air Force.
Oh, you see, I saw that. They were watching it, I think.
That was funny.
That's funny.
That is funny. If you scroll, and then and then let's hear what the Mexican mayors from the U.S., Canada, and Mexico just launched a joint press conference to talk about these tariffs.
The U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement put in place under President Trump in 2020 has set fair rules for trade across our continent. As we see it, there's no reason to backslide on this agreement. We all come from different places. Each of us wants what is best for our own country and our own city. What we know, however, is that when it comes to trade, what is good for Columbus is not bad for Toronto. And what is good for Ottawa is not bad for Ensenada. Trade benefits us all. And tariffs hurt us all. I can tell you from an American perspective, there's no more important issue right now than the cost of living. And tariffs do little more than make the cost of everything more expensive, from groceries to manufacturing to running a city. It also is going to drive up the cost of housing. Addressing the affordable housing crisis is the #1 priority of the Conference of Mayors. Some are estimating that these tariffs will increase the cost of homes by at least 5%, so $21,000 more in costs to the median home price, the last thing we need in American cities right now. We're already struggling with the supply crisis. We need more builders and developers from around the country to be building and developing in Columbus and Central Ohio. And these tariffs will make it more difficult, which is the last thing we need right now. The story is the same for all of us, and I'm so grateful to the mayors of Canada and Mexico who traveled so far so that we may speak with one voice.
Sorry, I was reading. Let me read some of these comments because you guys are like my favorite people. This conversation here. Sherry says, or let me go back up a little bit. Wicked Syke says he wants the manufacturing back in the United States. Ford has been using other engines and chassis for decades. Any car built outside the U.S. is what matters. Barry says Ford is a global company now, though. For instance, Ford built New Holland tractors in Basildon, Essex, and Ford also makes petrol engines in Dagenham factory. Both are in Essex, England. 7 says the Liberal Party had an election. They had 3 candidates, and they disqualified 2 of them, and that made Carney the leader. Wicked Syke says, yep, from what I understand, it is all vehicles manufactured outside of the country. Sherry says, shouldn't the Canadian government have been more concerned about their citizens anyway? Barry says, all it's going to do is hurt American people who want to buy cars. 7 says, now we are having an election. That's in Canada. Sherry says, we're switching to horses, Barry. And Barry says, Sherry, even the breeds of horses in the USA originated from Europe and the UK. Hee. 7 says, of course, the Liberals want to bring division between Canada and the United States, divide and conquer. Wicked Syke says, Barry, it depends. We were already being regulated and taxed out of owning vehicles anyway. And Barry says, you have the Suffolk Punch and the Shire horses. They are old English breeds. Wicked Syke says, depends on what they do with that. Tariffs could end up being less expensive. Barry says, Wicked, there is no instance where tariffs make things cheaper for the nation that applies tariffs. That's actually not true. In the short term, it does make things more expensive. In the long term, when you count on taxes, so it's not a matter of things being more expensive. It's a matter of how much money is being taken from your pocket by your own government, which I would prefer. Give me the price up front and I'll decide whether I want to pay it. Stop robbing from me my paycheck. Sherry says, well, Barry, if the horses are already here, there still are no tariffs, LOL. Barry says all companies do is increase the ticket price on goods that are tariffed by the percentage of that tariff. I guess you're right. They do just pass it on. And James says all these high tariffs that these countries have been imposing in the U.S. is why Trump has been so very adamant about the stand that he has taken on tariffs in general. Wicked Syke says taxes and regulations made up on a whim drive the cost of living up. Yes, you're right. In the short term, it does. Barry says, when we left the EU, we were threatened with tariffs from the EU. It turns out that items have gotten a bit more expensive in the UK, but we got our freedom. So hey ho, we don't care. And that's kind of what we're talking about. James says, struggling is an understatement. These folks are total failure on behalf of the American people, and homelessness has only gotten worse. Sherry says housing costs went up because of the immigrants dumped onto our communities. It drove up rentals and made citizens homeless. At least that is what has happened here. And Sherry is in Springfield, Ohio, where the Haitians were and all of that. So 100%. But for you guys to understand at least the Resistance Chicks stance on tariffs. Barry, y'all don't count because you guys are already a socialist nation. I remember I don't remember what year it was. I want to say 2018, 2019, Trump stood at his State of the Union address and he said, we will never be a socialist nation. Well, in many ways we already are, but the more that we are taxed as an American people, the closer we become to being a socialist nation. I don't have a problem with the prices of goods going up because right now, you guys don't realize this. These are cheap goods. Everything that we have is actually dirt cheap. I think about it a lot when I buy things, and I think to myself, if I had to find this locally where someone put this together, I mean, a product that costs $35 would cost $150. It's cheap because it's global and it's all of this, plastic and China and all of that. Like, things should cost more than they do. Leah and I were talking about this just yesterday about food. You can buy a head of cabbage for $2. Are you kidding me? If I had to grow that puppy, I'm charging $25 to sell it to somebody. That's how valuable it is. And so I don't have a problem. I would much rather have tariffs that say this good costs me more than to have the government reach in my pocket and grab my money and take it from me. What's more, you're missing the whole point of tariffs. It's not just to tax other nations. Great again is that all of the
have maximum impact on the United States. I don't believe that Trump is going around saying we want to hurt Canadians, but the fact that you guys are saying you want to hurt Americans is really weird. Okay. He says nothing is off the table to defend our workers in our country. One option would be for Canada to impose excise duties on exports of oil, potash, and other commodities. However, the Canadian government says they will delay any sort of announcement until they see what Trump is actually doing. It's so crazy. Like, the fact that Trump is keeping everybody on edge is, I feel, pretty wrong. Okay.
Yes, bananas are grown in the U.S., primarily in Hawaii and Florida,
They
with
grow
some
bananas
smaller
in Florida?
scale production in other warm areas like California, Louisiana, and Texas.
But it can't be very big.
Leah, I'm telling you, we grow bananas. And
Okay.
I knew that we grew bananas.
I have been in Florida.
Now who's got banana on their face?
I have been in Florida, and I have never seen banana groves in Florida.
Michelle. No, because here's the thing. That was the dumbest thing you ever said because we've grown bananas.
Not really.
Banana trees. So the banana tree will grow. We could bring it inside if you fertilize it the proper way.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's very much. All the
Leah.
stickers come from everywhere else.
Gosh.
Okay, put on your tariffs on the bananas, and we'll see how many bananas you get. Bananas to go skyrocket. We will fight the U.S. tariff and retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum import on the United States. Meanwhile, Ontario Premier Doug Ford spoke with the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and said Lutnick confirmed to him that Canada won't be hit with an immediate tariff and that finished vehicles with U.S. parts will face a lower rate than 25%. A car with U.S. parts would instead be subject to a tariff of 12%.
So let me go over to Facebook. I missed a couple of comments over here. Todd says, we can thank our leaders for selling us out to incentivize foreign investments while lining their pockets. Well said. He says they're dirt cheap, made by slaves. Pam says, I'm in Florida and we are growing them bananas. Leah, my gosh. This is a very nice little sister moment for me. You have to allow me to have it.
Well, the new German government wants to ban lies.
And the lie is that we don't grow bananas in the United States.
Yeah, the new German government coalition, which is likely to be the Christian Democrats, not Christian, and the Social Democrats, is looking to ban lies. According to a working paper that emerged from the group Culture and Media between the two parties, Bild newspaper received a copy of the working paper, which outlines the goal of combating fake news on social media and including restrictions on it. The paper from the CDU and the SPD indicates that the disinformation and fake news, they actually threaten democracy, you see. In fact, the paper argues that freedom of expression does not apply in such circumstances. Lies are only prohibited if they are punishable. For example, in the case of sedition, otherwise you can lie. Okay, so this right here, extraordinary scenes in Germany as police raid the home of Ugur Elisar, the publisher of the right-wing Compact magazine, and remove various belongings from his residence outside of Berlin. Germany's interior minister has placed a blanket ban on the entire publication.
They took his chairs and tables? Like what? Wait a minute. Not like computers and
The
stuff?
question, people are saying, just make sure to get the desk chairs. You don't want him to be able to sit down and work.
Oh my gosh.
So that's from July. Even determining a lie is a legal complexity. It's not an easy question of what a factual claim and what an expression of an opinion is. Most courts interpret freedom of expression very broadly. He also took aim at a specific part of the working paper, which addresses hate and agitation. Hate and agitation. There's no legal terms of hate and agitation. Basically, the spread of hatred in Germany is protected by freedom of expression. An assertion like, I hate all politicians, does not yet constitute a criminal offense. Another law professor from the University of Augsburg said that the deliberate spreading of false facts is not punishable, not illegal. He said that if the new government moves forward with a law against fake news, it would represent a grave threat to freedom of speech. He said he can only warn against a fake news offense being created, saying ultimately it would expose any controversial statement to the risk of criminal prosecution.
So an AfD politician was convicted for publishing gang rape statistic data related to the Afghan immigration, with her case now attracting worldwide attention.
And then a 14-year-old German boy had his house raided and searched by police in Bavaria for posting a hashtag everything for Germany on TikTok. The raid happened on
St. Nicholas
Day.
Day.
Which typically sees a Santa-like character bringing chocolates and fruit and putting them in shoes of boys and girls. The teen said he did not know the phrase, which was used by the SA during the Nazi times, was banned. So the police seized his phone and photographed his room.
Gosh.
Oh, yes. So speaking of that, there's a man in a British Christian, and I don't believe if this is an old sentence or new sentence. I know, but people are sharing it's not. I don't know if this is the final sentence. The British Christian who prayed in his mind outside of an abortion center to remember his son has been convicted of breaching a safe zone after refusing requests to move on. Smith Connor, remember he was praying for his son, was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Received the verdict from the judge in the case of Adam Smith Connor. She has found Adam guilty for his silent prayers. This is a shocking verdict. Adam, what would you like to say on receiving this verdict?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for the support over the last 2 years, since I was first accused of this thought crime on the 24th of November, 2022. Psalm 22 verse 10 says, "When my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take care of me." I served our great nation for 20 years as an Army reservist. I continue to serve my local community as a physiotherapist and a church volunteer. I never imagined that the nation I love and has been so good to me in the past could turn on me for doing nothing more than offer up a prayer for my deceased son. I felt like my government had forsaken me, but the Lord has taken care of me, surrounded me with prayer, and provided me with an excellent legal team with ADF UK. I want to thank everyone who's been praying for justice in this court case. I've received messages of support from across Britain, America, Italy, and even in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Christ. I'm extremely saddened that the judge has found me guilty. This marks a dark and dangerous day for our nation, setting a legal precedent that thought crimes can occur in England. When George Orwell wrote 1984 in the year 1948, he meant it as a warning, not as a guidebook. It seems Orwell's predictive powers were off by 40 years, but apart from that, the notion that thought crime could become established in the British legal system was sadly accurate. 2 years ago, when this case started, a Christian friend of mine said that we are now at a time where Christians can be persecuted for prayer. But there would come a time when you could be persecuted and the knock at the door could happen in your own home. Well, if you live in Scotland, that time has now come. In Scotland, the buffer zones, you can be persecuted for discussing abortion
This has to
in
be
your
new, 'cause
garden
that's a new-
if you are overheard by someone. If you think I'm being paranoid, this is only going to happen outside abortion clinics, think again. If the government can create thought crimes somewhere, it's only a matter of time before they create them anywhere. If you hold any controversial views at odds with the government, and we all do at some level, watch out. God and God alone gives us the inalienable rights and freedoms. It's the government's job to uphold these freedoms, not to suppress them. How can we ask British troops to put their lives at risk defending freedom abroad whilst fining, arresting, and, in your case, Isabel, imprisoning people back home for the thought crime of prayer?
Wow.
So he was within the 150 meters around an abortion clinic and he thought something. His son was killed in abortion and he was praying. An idiot on Twitter underneath this post was saying he is guilty of this crime because it's a crime because after they allowed abortion in the UK in 1967, there were too many pro-lifers out there who would harass abortion workers and women and things like that. If a law is unjust, it's not a law. And a crime cannot be a crime unless it's actually a crime, okay? You cannot tell somebody not to think a thought.
Yeah.
What you're asking somebody is to be honest. Well, what were you doing here? Where did your mind think about stopping abortion? Did your mind pray to God?
Well,
This is the most insane thing I have ever heard in my entire life.
It's not. And let me explain something to you guys that should empower you here. This is, I keep saying this lately, and we're going to hammer it as hard as we need to moving forward. Everything is spiritual. When they jail a man for 2 years for praying outside of an abortion clinic, do you know what they're doing? They're admitting that his prayers are an affront. That there's power behind it, that there is a force behind it, that there is an effect behind it. And so, because these government agencies are ruled by Satan, Satan is using them as an arm to defend against something that he spiritually cannot defend against. When we step into places and we pray, I am telling you, we are being offensive in territory that doesn't belong to the devil, but he has temporarily usurped because of situations that have allowed him to be there. But when we start speaking things out in our minds, even in the spirit, you have no idea how the power of your thoughts and the power of your prayers, even when you don't open your mouth, which is why I got even a poem called The Battlefield of the Mind. In the book by Joyce Myers, but I don't really like her. There is a battlefield that takes on in the mind, which is why the devil is always trying to get you and get your thoughts to submit to him. This is why the Bible says to take every thought captive, subject to the will of God. Why? Because it is a power that goes into the earth, into the world, into the universe that affects an actual change. It is as much as if you slapped someone in the face and they reacted to it. Your words produce an action. Your thoughts produce an action. Your prayers produce an action. And so if you are constantly thinking negative thoughts and you think to yourself, well, I'm just thinking them. And then you start seeing that manifesting in your life, you don't know what goes on in the mind will manifest outwardly, and certainly what you speak will. But this dude was just praying inside of his head, and the devil, by making this conviction, and I'm going to read Sherry's comment here in a second, by making this conviction, has essentially admitted to the fact that when we pray, it is an affront and an offense and an actual act of violence against the kingdom of darkness. Now, Sherry says that she is going to be praying that the doors will be loosed like they were for, Paul and Silas, right? And she says, what are they going to do if he prays inside the jail? Exactly. So this man is one of those who has literally been persecuted for his faith on a biblical scale. And that gives him, I'll just be honest, I don't know how this works. I just know it's true. There's an extra anointing double down on this man. So we need to pray that God surrounds him with angels and that in that prison, he will shake heaven and shake earth and set the whole place ablaze with revival. Imagine you're sitting there and what are you in for? Like there's open doors for him, which is, I just think is so powerful. Sherry says, did they have something to read his mind that he was praying? Wicked Psych says, sound familiar. I read about it in a book. Let's see. Sherry says, it's not harassment to simply tell someone to not kill a person. Exactly. No one likes or trusts any police officer in the UK, says Barry. They all lie and cheat. Jim says the idea that thought crimes can exist is absolute proof that the devil is on the run because of his fear for anything good, particularly God. Willie says, realize that authentic Christian theology of prayer is that the act of praying is powered by grace, which is the power of God. Our cooperation with grace and good works of prayer, etc., invoke grace. Very well said. And 7 Ange says, amen to that prayer. Let me hop over here to YouTube and then I'll let Leah finish. Stuart the Brit says, am I missing something? And Red says, yes, we grow bananas in the United States. Stuart the Brit says, America is in massive debt. Trump needs to find value in everything. If that's tariffs or anything, so be it. Or America will never be able to pay its way out of the hole that it's in. I could not agree with you more. Over on Facebook, Todd says, greater works than these can be done. Speak it. MT says, West's annotations reveal multiple opinions condemning acts evincing evil intent.
So I don't know if you can bring up Mom's blog or things on John Locke, but before you get there, go to my Twitter and see what I just tweeted out. You see, in the UK, you guys are a bona fide Christian country. Like your head of state is head of the church. Okay. You make no bones about it. Lord John Summers says, when the Christian religion is become a part of the subject's property by the laws and constitution of the country, then it is to be considered as one of their principal rights. John Locke considered, and this was 1688. So Lord John Summers was the framer of the English Bill of Rights, being crafted based upon a lot of the work being done with William and Mary and John Locke. And this English Bill of Rights focused a lot on your right to property. If you do not understand, guys, please don't come back on the show to listen. Like, you have homework, you have major homework, because I can't sit here and quote John Locke every single day to you. So please at least listen to the whole Second Treatise of Government. It's also helpful to read the letter concerning toleration. So what my mom has been doing is, you're going to get through the whole book, the whole paper basically on the Second Treatise, if you follow her every day on what John Locke explains. And sometimes he repeats himself. And so I encourage you to listen to it. If you read it, she's got these cool little explanations of each. I don't know if you can.
The best place to listen to it is LibriVox.com, LibriVox, LibriVox.com. Just put in John Locke, LOCKE, and you can listen to the Second Treatise of Civil Government. I highly recommend that everybody do that.
Yeah, so here we have John Locke. Let's see. I'm not seeing that she wrote a big one on that one. Let me see. Sunday, March 30th, 13A and B, according to the PDF. Extra PG here. I'm copying and pasting one page of John Locke every day. We are on day 47. It's such a small book. It only has 153 pages altogether, but is extremely anointed by God, as if God himself were writing it. It explains that government by God is working parallel on the same road, going in the same direction. Route 66 and Route 44 out in Oklahoma. One was the old road. The other is called the Broken Arrow Highway, the new Route 66. Oh, that's interesting that she's using that. In the end, the purpose of government and political societies is the protection of properties. Using what we learn in church, the ecclesia, the fellowship, while worshiping God in another type of society, the goal's end purpose is following the Prince of Peace as king, living and furthering, propagating his kingdom on earth. So the whole earth becomes the Garden of Eden. Man walks and talks with God on the earth or creation, a garden that Adam and Eve tend to dominate, multiplying, being good stewards and taking good care of the earth and all living things on the earth. Says, we're the 13b and 14b, according to the PDF, were written in a time frame when people had been burnt at the stake, had their properties taken from them, were excommunicated, and were told what church was the right one and how to worship. Dissenters suffered the worst of the consequences. John Locke is explaining why that is the furthest from Jesus Christ's teachings. The church, the bishops, the hierarchy, the deacons, the presbyters, the higher-ups, the preachers had no right to harm others if they didn't believe what was told by them. So this Sunday sermon Mom has here, you're being watched and tested by velociraptors, a group of men and women conspiring together, giving each other signals and code words like from Jurassic Park. You are the prey, they are the hunters, testing your strength to decide what weapons to use against you to take you down. God tests you to see how he can bless you. Why say seafood? This morning I'm taking morning vitamins, chlorella. She likes that. That's one of the things that Dr. Shavaz had prescribed. Is a type of algae that grows in fresh water. Chlorella, a microalgae, offers numerous benefits, including boosting the immune system, improving cholesterol and blood sugar levels, and acting as a potent antioxidant and detoxifier. I was thinking seafood. Why is it called seafood? Because it comes from the sea. Common examples are sushi, kelp, and other kinds of seafood here. When you are a kiss-up, a man-pleaser, I always say,
do not go along with everything you hear. Boys are boys and girls are girls.
The Gulf of Mexico is the Gulf of Mexico. Do not be played for the fool. They are looking to see how gullible, how weak you are. People do this to test your intelligence, your resolve to tell the truth, and your individual fortitude and internal strength. I truly believe that they are trying to play us for a fool with this man. They're doing this to test us, to make us think for one moment that they can control your thoughts. This is about a diabolical aligning with a spiritual force of evil, okay? When you kiss up, you're a man pleaser. These people will lose respect for you. You are weak people, pushovers, sheep led to the slaughter. Admit it is true. Call out to God through Jesus Christ's death as punishment for our sins. Ask your Heavenly Father for his Holy Spirit of truth. The Spirit of truth will lead you into all truth. Submit to God. Resist the devil. He will flee. You know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You will no longer be prey to the strongest liars, the deceivers, the thieves, the murderers, the corrupt members of society. And this one, pages 46 and 47, on the beginnings of political societies' origins, written history. And she says, only the Israelites have a long, permanent, and written history because God wrote it, inspiring men through his Holy Spirit coming upon them. Since Jesus Christ's death and resurrection, God places his Spirit on us to directly speak to us. Why is this important? Because in 1689, John Locke is writing about a perfect government ideal. In section 100, he says this is impossible. There has never been such a government known in history. America was actually born a more perfect union in 1776. John is teaching that unity is impossible, yet we have the unanimous Declaration of Independence less than a year later, 100 years later, from John Locke's teaching on government. The unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America, formerly known as the Declaration of Independence. Section 99, to unite into one political society, which is all the compact is or needs to be between individuals that enter into or make up a commonwealth, and thus that which begins and actually constitutes any political society is nothing but the consent of any number of freemen capable of a majority to unite and incorporate into such a society. And this is that and only that which did or could give to the beginning of any lawful government of the world. In section 98, John Locke mentions a play, Cato. The writer's plays are political. Cato, a tragedy, is a play written by Joseph Addison in 1712 and first performed on April 14, 1713. It is based on the events of the last days of Marcus Porcius Cato Census, otherwise known as Cato the Younger, in 95 to 46 BC, a Stoic whose deeds, rhetoric, and resistance to the tyranny of Julius Caesar made him an icon of republicanism, virtue, and liberty. Addison's plays deal with many themes such as individual liberty versus government tyranny, republicanism versus monarchism, logic versus emotion, and Cato's personal struggle to hold to his beliefs in the face of death. The play is explaining, quote, the perfect reasons for government. Republics are resistance to dictators, tyranny, and domineering groups of men who rule without the consent of the people. I bet if you took this man's conviction to the public, even in the UK, you would unanimously have him be set free.
Right.
Even the liberals, right? Because a lot of the people who vote with the Labour Party are just working class guys. And nobody is going to say beyond the ardent abortion crazies that you can't pray a thought. And so this is not a law. It's not government. And I believe everybody should stage thoughts. Okay. And I believe that you guys should all go and stand in front of all these abortion clinics and say, no, I'm not praying. I'm just here. You don't have, here's the thing. When they're asking you a question that is based on a lie, you don't have to answer them. You can just be like, you know what? We're here just to be here. Are you thinking something? Are you thinking about God? You don't have a right to ask me that. How can you convict somebody if they don't?
Well, it's self-incrimination and they do that to you.
Yeah, they do that to you. What were you thinking? And then you have to tell the truth. But here's the thing. That's your brain.
The fifth in the United States. I don't know what your equivalent
it's like
to that is
handing
in the UK.
over your cell phone. Okay? You don't have to hand over your cell phone. Okay? They can take it from you, or you don't have to unlock it, right? You don't have to unlock it. If your cell phone's locked, you do not have to unlock it. Courts have gone to battle for this and tried to get it. You don't have to unlock it. This is what John Locke is about. It's about the your right to property. I'm going to finish reading this, but such a consent is, let's see. John Locke is telling us without this perfect union, this play never opened, or as soon as it did, it shut down again because it had no effect on those watching. Cato's The Play came to the stage, then walked off the stage like it never happened. But such a consent is next to impossible ever to be had if we consider the infirmities of health, avocations of business, which in a number, though much less than that of a commonwealth, will necessarily keep many away from the public assembly, to which if we add the variety of opinions, contradictory interests, which unavoidably happen in all the collections of men, the coming into society upon such terms would be only like Cato's coming into the theater, only to go out again. The Latin phrase was originally written tantum ex, how do you say that? Exeric, only to go out again. P.S. means written after. In the mid-1800s, John Locke was friends with, I don't think it was 1800s.
She means 1600s.
1600s. John Locke was friends with William Penn and even got him out of jail in England. William Penn and the Quakers from the 1600s are the example John is writing from. He heard what they were doing and explained the governments they were forming, political, civil, and religious societies, he calls them. The Pilgrims and the Quakers, they were all creating civil societies. Christians were creating civil societies based on the principles of the Bible, and that your property is your mind, your will, your emotions, more than just the things on your body. And so you have a right to your property. And if the government is coming to you to say, I want your thoughts, no, you got a warrant? Come get a warrant. And then you're going to have to bust through the door of my mind. Because I'm not telling you what's in my head right now.
Sherry says, it's the same thing with the woman who waited for the transgender in the restroom so he could accuse her. You don't owe these people anything.
You don't. And I highly recommend you read the letter concerning toleration, because this is, religious freedom should come first for Christians in a Christian country. Mm-hmm. This is a couple paragraphs from letter concerning toleration. When they didn't have a lot of toleration for religious dissent in England at the time. Since you are pleased to inquire what my thoughts are about the mutual toleration of Christians and their different professions of religion, I must needs answer you freely that I esteem that toleration to be the chief characteristical mark of the true church. For whatsoever some people boast of the antiquity of places and names, or of the pomp and mark of the true pomp of their outward worship, others of the reformation of their discipline, all of the orthodoxy of their faith, for everyone is orthodox to himself. These things and all others of this nature are much rather marks of men's striving for power and empire of one another than of the church of Christ. Why then does this burning zeal for God, for the church, and for the salvation of souls, burning, I say, literally with fire and, I'm not going to say the word, you know what it means, pass by those moral vices and wickedness without any chastisement, which are acknowledged by all men to be diametrically opposed to the profession of Christianity, and bend all its nerves either to the introducing of ceremonies or to the establishment of opinions, which for the most part are about nice and intricate matters that exceed the capacity of ordinary understandings. I esteem it above all things necessary to distinguish exactly the business of civil government from that of religion, and to settle the just bounds that lie between one and the other. If this be not done, there can be no end put to the controversies that will be arising between those that have, or at least pretend to have, on the one side a concernment for the interests of men's souls, and on the other side the care of the commonwealth. The commonwealth seems to me to be a society of men constituted only for the procuring, preserving, and advancing of their own civil interests. Civil interests I call life, liberty, health, the indolency of the body, the possession of outward things such as money, lands, houses, furniture, and the like. The whole jurisdiction of the magistrates reaches only to these civil concernments, and all civil power, right, and dominion is bounded and confined to the only care of the promoting of these things, and it can nor ought in any manner be extended to the salvation of souls, where they have not the power to carry on persecution and to become their masters, which is what was happening to the Christians, the pilgrims. They were arresting them for coming together for their faith. Now what we see is a new kind of transformation in the UK and in Europe, which is saying you cannot be religious. You cannot hold religious beliefs. You cannot. It's the same spirit that would burn somebody at the stake for being a heretic. What they're saying is, we have a new religion, we have a new set of beliefs, and you must abide in this set of beliefs. The question is a man standing outside of and it's a life clinic and it's an abortion clinic, because there's no abortion clinics in the UK. It's just all clinics. Are you harming anyone? Is it illegal to just be there, period? No. This isn't a crime. This is my personal property. You have to step away. Amen. And we have to be able to stand on those things and know that it's true deep inside of you. Okay.
So over on Facebook, MT says, I'm 72 years old and I do recall the wisdom of John Locke in the 7th grade. That's awesome.
They taught you that? That's awesome. Well, we need some John Locke over here in Denmark. Dairy farmers in Denmark will have to pay an annual tax of 672 kroner, which is 75 pounds per cow, due to the planet heating emissions they generate in the world's first carbon emission tax on agriculture. 75 pounds per cow.
Hang on, I'm trying to find the right tweet here. I was closing out some Twitters and then I got a little zealous. Here we go.
Peter Sweden says 100,000 olive trees are set to be cut down in Spain so they can build new wind-powered turbines. They're literally damaging the environment to save the environment. If you go to the next tweet, Germany detonates its most modern coal-fired power plant just after 6 years. The Moorburg plant in Hamburg cost 3 billion euros and produced a bunch, 1,600 megawatts of power. They demolished it because Greta told them to.
No.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Here we have Ukrainian military kidnaps a minor. Poor guy. What have I done, guys? I'm working. Please. He was just delivering food and he gets marched off the streets. I'm guessing that
you mean he was conscripted, not arrested.
It was conscripted. Yeah, I'm guessing so. I don't have a lot on this story, but in Amsterdam, there was a mass stabbing and 5 people were stabbed this week.
All we have is the helicopter landing. That's all. We don't have anything.
No, let me give you one more. Here is a citizen This guy stopped the knife man in Amsterdam before the police arrived and then sat on him.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Wow.
I'm going to retweet one more.
Huh.
Europe.
That's impressive.
Yes.
Like a little guy.
You have a hero. Thank God for heroes.
Oh, what is this?
I don't know. I guess this is mass migration. You can probably skip this forward. Oh, this is Europe is messed up. That's another mass shooting, and then there's a bunch, with the foreigners coming in to town, basically.
Yeah.
The attacker with a knife in Amsterdam turned out to be a 30-year-old Ukrainian citizen.
Oh, wow.
The man's identity was revealed with difficulty. He had several sets of documents with different names.
Ha!
5 people, mostly tourists, were attacked in the fight. So
he stabs 5
yeah.
people. We don't know that anybody died. And we have a guy that has multiple identities and papers. And we've got a civilian hero.
A suspect was identified as a 30-year-old Ukrainian citizen. Little is known about his motive, although initial investigation suggests victims were chosen at random. So the man was in possession of false identity papers.
So he was thwarted by a British tourist who restrained him and ended the stabbing spree. I'm just very impressed by this British tourist.
Apparently some guy kicked him and broke his ankle. He got kicked down because he tried to run away. I think somebody kicked him in the face as well. It sounds like it was deserved, says one witness. Wow. So we don't know what that was all about.
You always watch these movies and you think to yourself, like, if this kind of stuff is really going down, like spy stuff, you'd think we would see more of it. And then stuff like this happens, it makes you scratch your head.
Well, he wasn't a very good spy if he was a spy.
I know, but he had all these documents and different papers and identities.
Well, that's true.
That's weird.
True. That's true. That is very true. Yeah. This is a very disturbing video here, going back to the Houthis. There's an activist on Twitter. His name is Jackson Hinkle. He went, and he's very much pro-Palestine. Somehow he went to Yemen, and he gives a speech to these Yemenis people. This is just so strange.
مع جاكسون هينكل الناشط الأمريكي المعارض. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Can't hear it.
I am so honored to be here.
لي الشرف الكبير أن أكون معكم اليوم.
I have never met a more courageous people.
على الإطلاق لم أقابل شجعانا مثلكم هنا اليوم.
America and the Zionist entity fears Yemen more than anyone else.
أمريكا والصهيونية والصهاينة يخافون اليمن.
Because the people of Yemen fear nobody but God.
لأن اليمنيين لا يخشون شيئا إلا الله.
So for the podcast listeners, I can't.
Does this look like one of those movie?
This looks fake,
but it's real.
Like, no, I'm going to mute this and let it just keep going. There are, I'm going to take a stab, no pun intended, here at this. We're looking at least like 30,000 people. I mean, there's just so many people here.
I would say at least 100,000 people.
And
they're all
watching
from around the world.
They've got all these signs that they're holding up and they're, pumping up and down. And then they have all of these semi-automatic, AR-15 looking type rifles that they're also, pumping up in the air as he's talking to these people. Like, I can't. And it's being broadcast on multiple. I mean, how many microphones were in front of him? Like real news microphones. And all of these different camera angles and stuff. I mean, this is a big deal that he went there and he's, So
these are the delusional, he's the anti-Gazan genocide guy is what he's calling it. And if you go to my Twitter, you're going to see him dancing with some Yemenis. Somebody said he's never been whiter than he's been right now in this little moment. But a lot of people do believe that it's not a war, it's a slaughter. And I believe that this guy, I don't feel like he's genuine. I feel like he's paid in some manner.
Yeah.
No one would subject themselves to this.
They're waving knives in the air in this dance. Right?
How do you, like, if you nudge somebody wrongly, like they're not making the right steps?
Right. This is weird. This is so weird.
But that's where, like, if you bring him up, like Jackson, you go to he's got 2.9 million followers. I believe he's going to step on something at some point.
When you say step on something at some point, what do
like
you mean?
he's going to be found out for something. You can't continue on. Just put in his name, Jackson Hinkle, Hinkle, and go to his profile. And just scroll down. Like he's the Israel, and keep scrolling. Israel's a terrorist state. Putin is a hero. Palestinians performing a prayer
in Gaza.
Israel did this. Zionism is evil. Zionism is evil. This is Gaza.
So I want to
Yemen stands with Gaza.
Let's do this. Let's go to Roseanne. Oh, she doesn't just come up.
Roseanne Barr?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Am I spelling her name wrong? Oh, there's an E in there. Hang on. Roseanne Barr. No. What in the world? How do you spell her name?
I don't know.
She's not on Twitter? There she is. Right? Is that up?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Roseanne Barr. I was spelling it right. Oh, there's an E on the end. Okay. Roseanne Barr. There she is. Let's see if she put on Twitter the same thing that she put on Instagram. This is really important. All right, this is really good. Remember the Trilateral Commission? Bohemian Grove, Freemasons, Templars, Illuminati. That used to be a thing before internet, quote, influencers like Jackson Hinkle replaced everything with the Jews because their engagement went up. If you haven't noticed this during your deep dives and, quote, noticing you're not smart enough to discuss world powers at all. You can critique Israel all day. That's fine. But if that becomes your boogeyman for literally everything, you're basically and frankly an embarrassment. And that's my stance on it as well. I could not have said it better myself. You know, we used to have lots of criminals in the world. But now people like Jackson Hinkle, what's his name? Have influenced the everyday person that the only, you know, it's a religion. Because my lowest common denominator for conspiracies or evil, you know, whatever, the bad things is always going to be, it's just the devil. Mm-hmm. It's just the devil. Okay? That's my religion. That's what I believe in the core of my being. I know that the devil is literally responsible for all the evil in the world. Mm-hmm. These people believe that the Jews, all of them, are the devil and that they are literally responsible. They have created a godlike entity out of Israel and the Jews. And you know what that does? It actually elevates them to a position that they aren't at, that they don't deserve. And you have godified them. I just made up a word. Okay. So I read that this morning from Roseanne over on Instagram, and I was like, well, she hit the nail on the head. I mean, whatever happened to all of the other evils in this world? Okay. The Jews are not the lowest common denominator of evil in this world. There's a lot of equal denominators out there. But you know what the lowest common denominator is? The devil. Mm-hmm. I mean, why don't they take it that next step?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
This whole thing is ridiculous.
So, you know, that's kind of most of my show today, to kind of wrap things up. But I think that after today, with a lot of the heaviness that we've had to cover and with the tariffs and everything, we're going to play, we're going to go to our favorite Country Life blog.
Oh, Leah.
And we're going to go through one of those.
These Nigel ones?
Nah. Well, fine. Nigel, he's calling out the chancellor for the migrants make you poorer, and they're going to be entering into some local elections. But I really felt like, you know what, I want to end on something happy today and just go back to natural life and real life. And when we're talking about tariffs and we're talking about car manufacturing, we're talking about all these things, guys, yes, we need products and we do need supplies to help us to do things because, like, we need jars. I mean, I'm telling Michelle, we were praying this last night. I was praying especially for men because you're not supposed to just go and get, the idea of going to school and getting a degree and getting a job, that is designed to keep you a slave to the system. Bill Gates was saying, we'll keep some things to ourselves. You guys didn't watch our Friday night show. We'll keep some things to ourselves. However, he was saying that we're going to automate everything. Mm-hmm. And I was outside and I was re-raking an area that I'm going to plant. It was so cute because I was outside and Uncle Jack saw my little tiny things coming up in the garden. He goes, "What you growing?" And I said, "Well, I've got some beets and some carrots and some spinach and some kale out there." And he goes, "All sounds good to me." And it was just so, I don't know, cute. It was so encouraging. It was just nice. He's just like, Uncle Jack has been lately getting more involved, especially this past year or so in life. He has a little bit, you guys can pray for him. He's got a surgery that's going to come up in June, hopefully to replace his knee so that he can walk more. He says he's going to walk with us, walk with Mom and I and Michelle. And I'm very excited about that. But he has a little bit of dementia because, your brain starts to go down when you don't get a chance to move around and do things, right? So you pray for that. We're trying to work with some supplements, and we do think that the body health is helping.
I am
the protein
literally
is working.
He's taking these perfect aminos, and I would, if I could put a percentage on it, I would say 65% improvement just from taking these.
Mm-hmm. He also is taking
resistancechicks.com/body health.
You can get mushrooms from Dr. Syed, but we actually get a big jar from, just to be honest with you.
I'm taking these. I'm taking Dr. Syed's, my go-to stack, lion's mane mushrooms every single day.
Oh, you are?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I love them.
Well, I also get a big bottle of them from Sam's.
Okay.
So, but you're taking, the lion's mane. That's great.
Yep.
I take the autophagy every day, and I just don't want to be without it. So I love taking that. But I was outside and I was like I'm like holding on to my hoe. You will not do this. You're not going to take this hoe from me. I will beat you to smithereens before you take this hoe from me.
Who's trying to take your hoe?
Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Bill Gates wants to take work from people, I enjoy it. You lazy nincompoop. Okay? Michelle was out there and she was saying, hey, I want to build something. Like she was having this desire. I just want to build something. I want to build this. Might build a little thing onto our deck for a little extra.
You can call it what it is. There's no other word for it. It's a bar, but it's not for a bar like as in drinking. But I want to extend. I'm going to create a little table so that you can sit out there on like taller
stand and be able to stand.
Yeah, seats.
Right.
And I already have the wood for it because I've already got the design in my head. I just haven't had time to build it. And yesterday I was like, I was going to build it. I didn't have time to do it yesterday, but I love building things. Like I love getting the saws out. I love getting my, all of my, tools out and the drills.
So every person, especially men, have a gifting and a calling. What I saw in a vision when I was praying last night for men to rise up, there has to be a need that your calling meets. Mm-hmm. And what happens when you offshore building things, like if you go to an old home and you see a staircase, do you know how intricate that is? Somebody's soul went into doing that staircase. When you go into a new home, they are 2x4 staircases, like covered in something. Nobody put love into it. It was usually an illegal immigrant. Bam, 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 tick, 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 tick. How fast can we get it done? With imports and, cheap labor. There has to be a need and then the gifting, okay? Every person has a gifting. Every single person on this planet. But what the deep state has done, what the Federal Reserve has done, is squashed down. And what I saw is all the real need. You're supposed to be able to, Benjamin Franklin's dad took him to all the different trades and said, what are you more inclined to do? Well, he was inclined to build a printing press and start his own newspaper. And that's what he was inclined to do. John Adams, he was inclined to farm, and his dad was like, well, let me show you how to farm. I'm going to show you how hard it is, and he loved it. He's like, no, I'm trying to show you something. Don't you want to go to school and be a lawyer? You're too smart for this, young man. So his dad made him go to school to be a lawyer. But what did his dad do? His dad showed him that there was a need. He said, son, this country's going to need lawmakers. He didn't know it. His dad, John Adams' dad, was prophetic. And I just got goosebumps. John Adams' dad was prophetic. He's like, no, son, you've got to go to law school because our country needs you. Mm-hmm. If you think about a blacksmith, that man during the time when you needed blacksmiths, okay, in a community, was in constant need. People were constantly bringing them their pots that broke, their handles that broke, sometimes the blacksmiths would be a horseshoer, sometimes they wouldn't, okay? Sometimes they would have a separate horseshoer. A horseshoer has a need. He wakes up every day and he fills a need that needs to be done. And people are grateful for it, and they get paid according to their hard work. And that is capitalism. That's true capitalism. There's a need and you fill the need. God has a need and the fulfillment of a need for every single person on this planet. Okay? With the invention of the Federal Reserve, you have the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and the Fords. They took more. John Locke says you can't take more. It is against the laws of nature, nature's God, for you to take more than you need. A Trump, a Robert Kiyosaki, it's not socialism, it's Christianity. You see, Christians, and it's a very biblical principle, are not to take more than you need. When you are storing up millions of dollars, when you are using people as slaves, and rather than doing hard work with your own two hands and having a few employees, you're doing exactly opposite of what Jesus teaches. Jesus teaches to fill the need. But what has happened is that the desire of a blacksmith to wake up and say, I got a need to fill today. And there are people that are grateful for that. That's what keeps the world going. That's what motivates us to get up and do things. How many of you get to do that? There's a lady that we know that actually makes these tie-outs for horses for people who camp with horses. Mm-hmm. She gets to wake up every day and she fills a need. And it's pretty good that she gets to do that. Very few people get to wake up every day and say, I am filling a need and I'm doing what God has gifted me to do. Okay? So what we have to do is pray and believe God and know, number one, all these guys that are taking more than they should, they need to face the justice and judgment of God. All these guys that have transferred raising horses for building cars on an assembly line where you're an employee. I drive past these giant conglomerates of businesses. It's like the thousands and thousands upon thousands of square feet. That is unchristian. It's unbiblical. You're not filling a need. You're sucking. You're not helping the economy. Well, yeah, I guess you're helping the economy, but you're not helping the planet. You're not filling a need. You're trying to force people to take something.
Right.
And you're using people as slaves. So I'm telling Bill Gates, I want to find what God has called us to do. Amen. So I believe that the Country Life Vlog people have done that, or at least doing that in a really great way. And I know they're probably making a ton of money on this. When they first started, I think when we first started showing you videos, they had 4.5 million. Now they have 7.3 million subscribers. But I just love them.
It's the greatest show on the internet. Next to the Resistance Chicks.
I like watching them at their pace. So I don't want to make it fast paced.
You can speed it up a little bit. I don't know why it's not.
But the slow pace, I'd rather skip rather than go too fast because of the calmness of it. You know what I mean?
I think this is still good.
Okay. So those are Easter eggers. We've got some of those, and they get into my grass seed that I'm trying to.
So this is a couple that live in the, I guess I can slow down, the Caucasus Mountains. And they started doing this channel where they live this life, right? Mm-hmm. And the wife comes out and everything that she does is so organic. And I mean that original, back to the earth. And it's so satisfying to watch the way that she works. Now, we still have yet to figure out exactly why she makes so much food.
We haven't figured that one out yet.
Now, I know that her son owns some hotels,
restaurants,
and so we figure she sends some of it to them. But they set it up so that she's like always working outdoors. There's a whole host of different places where she works and she does different things.
So the son, and with their finances, they built this amazing greenhouse. So I love it. But their son runs the greenhouse, and I think he films it. And their daughter helps to do the social media of it. Because somebody has to film them doing each task.
Right.
And like moving the dirt. So you kind of skip forward. So she's bringing in this meat. So today
we're
making...
It's a giant rib cage of a cow.
Village-style beef ribs.
Stop it.
Is what we're making today.
Oh, my gosh. That's a tiny
I've
little
never
knife.
seen anything like that. I've never seen anything.
It's so big.
So is she taking the... What is she doing with that knife?
I don't know. She's
So I
clearly
thought-
cutting these ribs.
Is she trying to take the skin off? That skin?
No, you
layer
have to
off?
take that. It's not a skin, obviously. Leah misspoke. But that inner layer, you do need to take it off when you're doing ribs. So it's probably what she's doing. She's probably cutting it so that she's gonna probably peel it back. Back at the gardening. Hang on.
Man, they have this greenhouse, and boy, it's amazing.
And there's always these cool animals that they have. Here she comes back with the ribs. These are so huge ribs.
What is going on?
I don't even know.
If she's not going to pull them
rip
out.
it.
Is she going to pull them
She's
out?
pulling the meat off.
No.
That's why she wasn't
'Cause
going
she
all the way
couldn't-
through. Never in my life ever.
Because they're too big to put in like an oven, right?
No, she could cut them. But still, this is... I'm never. Never.
What? Oh, come on. Whoa. I'm feeling it with her. Like,
I'm feeling it.
Like, this is intense.
Oh!
Oh!
This is the worst part for the podcast listeners. You don't get to see all this stuff. Like, I'm going to skip the planting just because I want to know what's going on with these ribs.
Oh,
He's always
he's got
planting
a
flowers.
wire
He does a
on.
great job with his flowers. Here she is back with the ribs. Here. They have so many flowers everywhere. He really does do a good job with flowers. But it kind of begs the question. I'm like, what does this husband do? Like, she's always doing all the hard work.
Oh, wow. It kind of looks like we're looking at a massacre here. But how are we going to get him off?
She's getting it right now.
Oh, we're going to have the bigger knife. She cutting them? Whoa. No, she's just cutting the meat away.
She's just cutting the meat away. She's
Wow.
not going through.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
No,
wow.
you don't. I never.
Nuh-uh.
I never. No.
Ha! Ha! Well done.
How much do you think that weighed?
5 million pounds.
Look at this cool rake. That's a really cool rake. Aww. Now let's look at the animals. She got turkey out there.
Turkeys are hard to raise.
We're not successful at the turkeys.
Now, do you think that that's going to be a pet, or do you think that turkey's going to get eaten?
Everything should get eaten.
Well, everything should be, but
Well,
like
they don't
tell
eat their
them about our
crows.
Amish who have a pet turkey. They're never going to eat it.
Yeah, they
It's
just
so
but they don't
cute.
even like the turkey.
They pretend like they don't like the turkey, but they love the turkey. It just
Well, they can't
hangs
kill
out.
it now because they have the same problems that we did with how hard they are to raise, and so they got one that successfally lived. You can't
Yes.
kill it now.
No, you can't leave it now.
I literally, my best friend Catherine raises turkeys, and I'm just so impressed with her success with her turkeys because, like, we have not been successful with trying to grow turkeys. Okay, so she's got this really cool. It was obviously an indoor stove. It was at one point. Now they're cooking with it. She's got the fire behind it that she uses like a pizza oven.
Why do you think they brought that outside? Because obviously
'Cause
it's an
hot.
indoor stove.
Because it's hot inside right now. Probably. Get back here. And they got all this enamelware
so
that's so pretty.
pretty.
We keep trying to find enamelware everywhere we go. decided I just want to use enamel.
Well, and that's a craftsman thing, right?
Yeah.
So like, I can't get over Jurassic Park sitting there on the table. Look at her laundry hanging out.
Well, what do you think she's gonna do with the carcass? Like, she doesn't waste anything, so I can't imagine it just going to waste. Like, you think she'd make like a bone broth out of it or something? You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, she just like done
what
cave woman in it. I am cave woman. Hear me, cave woman.
Cave.
And he's just over there with the flowers.
I know.
And she's cave woman in that thing. Like, ain't nobody's business. With all the
giving
cats.
little peats to the cats. So cute with the cats.
Whoa! No! No. Okay. 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 She's got her meat cleaver on. Like, I'm afraid of that woman with that meat cleaver. Like, she gonna defend her home.
She's breaking those ribs in half.
Ah! You know what? You gotta be strong. That woman's arms are... She is just really... I believe she's Proverbs 31 right there. This is her Proverbs 31 woman's arms.
Make a bone
You
broth.
are
What did
smart.
I
I
say?
thought she was gonna put it out for the animal. No. That stuff is good stuff. That's a bone broth. That's like health into your system. You just knew she was gonna just boom the smithereens. And she's got her water pitcher.
Little clay pot.
That's going to be something else, isn't it? That's going to be intense. And we're going to go put it on the outdoor stove because that's what we do around here. We don't cook inside.
Yeah, cooking inside's for the birds.
So she takes that thing off so she can get direct to heat.
Yep. Okay, you just sit there. Sit there and be good. Now we're going back to this giant, like, 40
What are we going to do here?
What
What are we going to... Oh, look at his flower bed. Sorry, not a horseshoer. It's a fairy word, by the way.
I was going to correct you, but Leah told me I can't
Horseshoer.
correct her on the show.
A horseshoer.
I literally was about to correct you, and I said, nope, Leah doesn't like it.
It's
So,
a
Brit Braza,
technicality.
you're allowed to do it. Or, yeah, Stuart the Brit, you're allowed to do it.
What? If you guess, what is Mom working on right now?
Oh, our pig butchering video.
Yeah, you can see some of this with hog meat. But that looks like an Arabian Night knife. Like, it's got a whole thing on it. Like a
I think they sell those knives.
I'm too scared. I can't use that stuff. And I got to use gloves. If I use that knife, I'd have to use, like, super gloves. One of our viewers sent us these gloves. Wow, so she's... Is that like looks like a loin. Looks like she's pulling apart. When you have something like that, it looks more like a loiny type thing. Oh. So I am a beefosaurus. I definitely love beef. You know, you have to go get a roast out like right now.
I want some meat.
Like, you got to go get a roast. Oh, we found a way to make the softest beef. We're going to do it. We'll do it.
We did in our
there's a loin
pressure
there.
cooker.
Yeah. We'll just cook some meat up.
That is a huge loin.
I didn't know. I guess the loin is connected to the ribs just like ours, you know,
Just
with
like
the
a
pig.
pig.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be that beef loin. You buy that at the store, $500. Smack it down, $500. And the crow.
All right, I gotta skip ahead. I don't even know what she's doing with this thing.
Okay, well, she's taking off the scum.
It has a name.
She doesn't want it. She doesn't want that stuff. Okay.
I'm surprised she just doesn't strain it later.
I know.
She will, though. I know her.
Mm-hmm. What's the... Oh, wow.
It's super cool doors.
That's
they
the
made.
best door I've ever seen. That's so cool. Okay, so now we chunked it up. Hunk of meat.
Another one of her cool enamel bowls. Look at her cutting board.
That is
It's just
awesome.
literally a slab of
I love that crow, man.
milled wood. Their crow is their best friend. Like, he goes everywhere with them, and they feed him. They've got a couple of crows,
I
actually.
wonder what he's building.
Oh, is that his son? I've never seen that. Oh, that's cool. Maybe he's been on before. We missed it.
Whoa.
Lamb fat.
Lamb fat.
That was a fatty lamb.
Holy smokes. I didn't know they had a big...
I didn't
Where
know
would
lamb
what
had
part
that
is
kind of
that
fat.
coming from?
That's a good question. The inside, maybe? So she made, what we missed, and I fast forwarded through it. She makes her own ground beef by just chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what you see in the bowl there. But it's probably too lean, so she's probably adding the lamb fat.
Really healthy. I bet that lamb fat's super healthy.
Yeah.
Oh, look at I didn't even notice her headband is so pretty. Little paisley blue.
She's gonna go check her stock again. Here, we'll skip ahead. Oh, she's got another pot. I wonder what we're gonna do with this pot. She's got another fire.
Just a fire. Just over a fire.
They start so many fires on this show. And it's kind of wobbly. Like, I would be concerned that if I'm going to cook something fancy in there, that it would, like, get knocked over or something.
Yeah.
On these, you know, little three-legged things. Okay, so here goes the lamb fat. Interesting.
Okay.
We're going to render it first.
This is a workout, dude. I'm working.
Whoa, look at this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it.
Oh. I'm getting a workout going back and forth just watching her. Where's he going? Where's he going?
Oh,
oh wow. Yeah. The little low tunnels.
He's going to check on what he's got growing under there, I guess.
Gotta water him.
Oh, he's got to water it, yeah. Look at how he made this tunnel. There's some, like, branches arched and stuck in the ground.
So I guess this is going to stop the frost and the freeze from getting to your... You can start your garden earlier. Like beets. That looks like beets and carrots. In case of snow, you know. Snow would kill it, but if you had that on there, you could start it earlier, right?
Right. There she goes. All right, that's going in with the lamb fat.
Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, we can fast forward. Well, not a little bit.
Well, where's the sheep? You want me to go back? I don't think we missed anything. She seasoned it.
She seasoned it.
You want me to play the seasoning?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, she's seasoning it. Look at that, like, cool paddle for stirring that. Look at that meat. I'm hungry now. I need to go eat some meat. Whoa.
Boiling in fat.
I don't know. Oh, she's gonna jar. She's jarring up the meat.
Oh wow.
That's the goal of this whole thing. Look at that.
Okay.
Look at it. We're just making canned meat. But wait, what about the? This wasn't all the rib meat, was it? Oh, that seems like a waste.
No, it's not. Even without a freezer.
No, I know. You're right. I just want to sit down and eat ribs now.
You know, our things say don't use a lot of fat, but she's literally canning it in the fat.
Which it makes it safer, by the way. It's like comfy to preserve in fat. So what we did yesterday, and I'll go get a jar, is if you watched our chicken, or you haven't watched it yet, excuse me, the pig butchering, we haven't put it out there yet, but if you were with us, we always render our lard at the same time as we're butchering. And Matt does a great job with that. And
I might need to get Mom that watering can with that big old spout at the top.
What you're left with is cracklins. And he has kept them in these, like, you know, containers. And we always intend to use them, and then we really never do. So this year, yesterday, I seasoned them. They're like crunchy, little crispy, bacony things. Okay. And so this year I seasoned them. And then I smoked them on the grill yesterday, and then we canned them in jars by just pouring them in hot so that the lid will suck down.
So he's getting his plants out of his greenhouse.
So, like, if you have kids and you want to allow them to watch something, you know, stop with the cartoons and just, there's the Country Life vlog. And then what's the name of the other one? The couple, their shows go for like 3 or 4 hours sometimes. They're very similar to this couple. And I think about it a lot. I try to tell my other best friend, Jessie, I'm like, you need to just have your kids watching this instead of like the cartoons and stuff. Because this is like super wholesome.
So we're going to peel some potatoes and cut some onions. I love that they put potatoes down here.
I know. Okay, go ahead.
What's he doing with the corn? Just feeding the chickens?
Probably just feeding the chickens for the fun of it.
I love that
everything
they're
is
plating-
presentation.
they're plating
It
the
hasn't even cooked
ingredients.
yet, and it looks good.
I wonder where they're getting those fresh tomatoes from.
That's a good question.
Not from,
Greenhouse, maybe?
not from their garden. Vegetable oil.
She's just frying up raw potatoes. She's still stirring her stock.
Oh,
wow, those look amazing.
Oh, I know she was going to make French fries. That wasn't on the list.
Now she did save out some of that good meat. Just straight up frying it up, man.
Yeah, she is.
I can smell it.
I can smell it.
In my mind, I can smell it.
I can eat the potatoes right now. I know what that smells like.
I know what it tastes like.
I love the close-up on it.
Now we're adding onions.
We knew this was gonna happen.
And then the peppers.
This is amazing. This is it.
It's like a stir
You know what's so
fry.
funny is there's not like anything that all that she cooks that I wouldn't eat. They eat like we do, or we eat like they do. I don't know if it's like because we're raised Germany or whatever, but like everything she cooks, I would eat. Like it's our food. It's our kind of food.
The only thing that's different that they do a lot of, and they haven't in a while, is cooking with apricots and prunes and raisins
but I would
and
eat
nuts.
it. It's not that I
and-
cook that way, but I would eat it. You know what I mean? Like nothing like there's so many cultures, honestly, that are just weird. I wouldn't touch it. Like this is my kind of food. Like all
That
the
is my
ingredients.
kind of food. I'm going to make it right now.
Yeah, why not?
Y'all are hungry like we are.
Paprika, pepper, salt.
All right, let's get to the plating.
It's only 2 minutes left.
Okay. Now, see, this is her beautiful
this
new
is the kitchen. This is the
We just built
kitchen.
this. It's gorgeous. Like,
It's
here's the
just
thing. You know what I think about a lot?
Heaven.
Like, cooking over fire wouldn't be hard if you had, like, the place to do it. It's all about having the place
She
to
went
be
in
able
and
to
put
do
the
it.
tomatoes in there too.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's delicious. She put those potatoes in
It's
there,
like
which
a-
I would not have done.
But what happened with the stock? We missed that.
She might have put it in there because it looks pretty juicy. Look at it. So essentially, she made
Fresh
roast,
parsley.
but not in the oven. Yeah. Fresh parsley.
That's
that looks
basic. That's what it
amazing.
is. Yeah, that's exactly
It
what
looks
it is.
amazing.
And husband is like,
and they always sit down at the end of the show and eat it together.
what I love was that she
Bless you.
looks like she did she go ahead and add the potatoes in there?
Yeah,
after
she
she
did.
fried them.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have because I would want them crunchy. Crispy. There's duck. You don't know how to do a turkey?
I like to.
No.
Wait, she's not done. She's gonna show you something.
Is that the stock? Oh, she does her
she gotta
canned.
get her canned goods out. Gotta show your canned goods.
That's been sitting there. That got cold.
so there's a comfy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. The fat layer around
Yeah,
the
it
beef.
looks amazing.
That's really great. It's really smart. It's a really great way to preserve for long life. And
Love
yeah,
it.
that's
That looks
really
amazing.
great. And it's they want you to see the layer.
I know.
They want you to see it up close. She wants you to see all of her jars. I'll come and get him, honey. There you go. I'm gonna get it for you.
Whoa, easy,
whoa,
easy.
easy, tiger.
And then you have to see their larder.
Here he goes.
It's amazing in there.
They have a light
I'm not
switch.
going to
in
show
there.
you. Probably they don't. I don't know. Maybe they don't.
She's coming in. She's coming. Following him. What's in the jar back there? Here you
Whoop.
go, honey. Oh, we
We
almost
almost ran into each other.
Yep, we almost had an accident. We're going in with mom and dad. Oh,
There it is.
Are those cherries?
Yeah. Be careful.
Live to eat and eat to live. You know what? All these like keto people,
No, you ain't doing it
carnivore
right.
people, all these like food restriction people.
Stop it.
It's not life. God wants you to have good food that tastes good. That's why he made apricots and plums and apples, and everybody be like,
all these,
I'm never going to eat a piece of fruit again. I'm only eating meat.
Stop it.
Or I'm not eating meat. I'm only eating vegetables. I'm like, guys, life is for living. So I'm going to pray that you all get to live a life that's worth living.
Amen. So there's the show, even though we stole half of it from them, from the Country Life vlog.
Of it.
I don't know, 40 minutes. I don't know how long we went with that, but it was a 45-minute episode. We watched the whole
42.
thing. Whatever. So I don't really have anything else announcements-wise. Last week we interviewed Gio Griffin. So good. Both Healing for the Fractured Soul and Revelation Red Pill off the chain. You do not want to miss them. Tonight, I would highly recommend starting at 6 o'clock going to Harvest Revival Center's YouTube channel. I probably won't restream it just because I'm tired, but I wanted to. The intent was good. I'll probably watch it. They're doing a miracle and healing service up in Dayton. So just very excited for them. Neil's always knocking it out of the park. As a matter of fact, I texted Neil. We don't text him that often today because while I was preparing for today's show, I was listening to his sermon from this morning at church. And it was so good. It was so pertinent to even what we're going through. Don't give up in the middle of the fire. Just keep going. So huge message of encouragement out there for you guys if you want to watch Harvest Revival Center's church service from today with Pastor Neil Peterson. It was really great. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I think that's it. We will see you guys for sure Tuesday night, I think, for Healing for the Fractured Soul.
We should, yeah.
That is the 2nd. If something big happens, we'll let you know. Tomorrow, excuse me. Wednesday is the 2nd. Tomorrow is the Silver Squeeze. If you would like to participate, it'd probably be too last minute to contact Zhang Enterprises, but still you can do so. resistancechicks.com/God's money if you have any questions.
You can go to SD Bouillon, but definitely.
I'm saying if you were going to buy any silver in the relative, time frame of the next couple of months, maybe make it tomorrow because I think it's going to be, like we were talking about it being a protest. So I think that's all that I have. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory. If it's actually the truth, thank you guys to all of your comments, all of your emails, all of your messages. They do mean a lot to us, even if we can't always respond. Thank you to all of our monthly subscribers. If you do want to subscribe or donate, you can do so at shop.resistancechicks.com. You don't ever have to use PayPal again if you don't want to. If you can, we certainly still have people over there, and I appreciate you guys there as well. But I know there are a lot of people that have, this aversion to being part of that
VT
system.
Farm Boy says definitely some resources involved with that video. The place is immaculate, maybe a bit higher class than the average farmer.
So this couple, if you go back and watch their original videos, they're like in like a little hut. It was the actual doing of the thing that has elevated their status clearly. So this has been years in the making for them. So it looks immaculate now, but it didn't when they started. So it's kind of like if you go back and watch Leah and Michelle's original Resistance Chicks videos for the first couple of years, you will definitely notice a big difference. So, you kind of grow one little thing at a time.
All right, stay safe today, guys. Anybody in the Midwest and the storms and all that, and keep your prayers out there for Thailand.
Yeah, amen. All right, we'll see you guys next time right here from resistancechicks.com.